Good morning, everyone. I call this quarterly meeting of the Texas Veterans Commission to order. Ms. Secretary, do we have a quorum? Okay, thank you. I have all of our mics on, by the way, just to let you know. We'll start off by Commissioner Mike Hernandez will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. flag, and Commissioner Chuck Wright will lead us in the pledge to the Texas flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. And I request Chip Osborne to come up to lead us in opening prayer.
Let us pray in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, we are so thankful for this day that our commissioners will decide on awarding grants and renewals, as well as new awardees for this next grant cycle. We're so thankful and blessed that our commission will have the potential to award $47.5 million to various organizations across the great Republic of Texas. Now, Father, we ask that you protect all of our service members who are currently deployed or away from their families. We especially request protection for the family members that are waiting for their loved ones to return home safely. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chip. First agenda item is I will be opening the floor to members of the public who wish to address the commission on matters under its purview. Please limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes per person. Please remember, this is the time for the commission to consider any public comments. Any discussion or deliberation by the commission for matters not posted on the agenda must be limited to a proposal to place a subject on a later agenda or confined to statements of factual information or existing policy regarding the subject. I have a list of people who had submitted requests to speak in public comment. I will call you up, and if you are not here, I'll check to see if you're here later on, in case you're not here present right now. First, I call up Mike Burnett, Concho Valley Community Action Agency.
Madam Chairwoman and Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this morning. I'm Mike Burnett, Executive Director of Concho Valley Community Action Agency, also known as CVCAA. We are based in San Angelo and Tom Green County, and we serve 11 counties in Central West Texas. We are a recipient of a 23-24 General Assistance Grant of $300,000 that is up for renewal today. We are on the list of not having met benchmarks. We also applied for funding for the Housing for Texas Heroes grant in this new cycle. CVCAA has been operating since 1966, working to alleviate poverty in our service area. We operate multiple programs of assistance and are very proud to be an agency with funding to better the lives of Texas veterans. We serve over 100 veterans annually prior to the TVC funding. Of the 35 plus community action agencies in Texas, CVCAA is consistently at the top of the list of high-performing agencies. We regularly expend our assistance funds, and we run a pretty tight ship regarding administrative costs. When other agencies cannot expend their funds, the state will reallocate those funds to high-performing agencies, and we are one of those. For example, this past January, we received an additional $200,000 in water assistance funding and expended it within 3 months, whereas the agency that gave back the funding had struggled to spend that amount over the past 15 months. This was on top of our already having spent over $700,000 on water assistance. This is just one of the examples of the many programs that we offer, most of which also receive additional funds because we expend ours. CVCAA regularly receives clean monitoring reports and audits. In fact, when TVC's monitor visited our agency in fall of 2023, he expressed that we are running our veterans program correctly. In San Angelo, the 2024 point in time count, also called a homeless point in time count, also called a PIT count, identified 175 homeless persons, with 40 being chronically homeless, 12 of which being veterans. We know this number to be higher, which is typical of a PIT count. The city of San Angelo has launched an initiative to end veteran homelessness in San Angelo, with the first meeting being next Wednesday. CVCAA is a leader in the community and homeless services. And as I am also the chair of the local homeless coalition, CVCAA's role in ending veteran homelessness will be big. But in addition to our homeless veterans, CVCAA has also been working diligently to make sure that all veterans that qualify for assistance are getting the help that they need. This has come with some issues during this grant. Unfortunately, there is a member of the local veteran service community that has been spreading misinformation about CVCAA and our veterans programs. This has been communicated to TVC leadership, and TVC leadership took steps to rectify this in early March 2024, about 8.5 months into the program. Prior to the intervention, in the first 8.5 months operating the program, we served 26 veteran households, or 1 veteran household every 10 days, or 3 per month. Since the intervention, in just 2 months, we've served 13 veteran households, 1 veteran household every 4 3/4 days, or 6.5 per month. If you want to look at the service dollars the same way, prior to the intervention, we were spending approximately $9,000 per month. Post-intervention, in just the 2 months, we more than doubled that, approximately spending $20,500 per month. I hope you can see that when the interference is removed, CVCAA does what we do well, spending assistance dollars and getting those in need the assistance that they deserve. I am concerned that this external issue can continue to harm our program's operation. Just last week, I forwarded to TVC leadership that the same individual had omitted CVCAA from a list of agencies serving veterans in our area. This list was circulated to the city of San Angelo for the Ending Homeless Vets initiative, including several city council members who we work closely with. Again, I had to do some damage control to make sure that CVCAA is included in this conversation, as we have a lot to offer our veterans. I'm hoping that, considering this data, you will approve Concho Valley Community Action Agency for funding for both the renewal of the 23-24 General Assistance Grant and the 24-25 application for Housing for Texas Heroes. As a grandson of 4 World War II veterans, I know how important it is for communities to care for their veterans. CVCAA is very proud to work with our veterans and looks forward to continuing that work in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Quite
you.
impressive. You got it exactly
you.
in 5 minutes. Next, I call up Benjamin Miranda with Endeavors.
Madam Chair, good to see you again.
Nice to see you, Ben.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come and speak to you this morning. So one of the things I wanted to do before my colleague Laura also comes up and speaks, I just want to, first of all, give all of you, thank you for serving our state. And not only that, but for managing the funds that continues to save veterans' lives, marriages, and families. Endeavors, the organization that I represent, we are a nonprofit organization that's headquartered here in Texas. And for the last 55 years, we've been serving veterans and vulnerable populations. And we do that through an array of programs that is funded with programs such as TVC's mental health program and the General Assistance Program. We have been able to touch countless of lives, thousands of veterans with the funding that you've provided previously. And then we asked for you to consider to provide the funding for us to continue to move forward and continue to serve our nation's heroes. We are the largest provider of veteran supportive services in the state of Texas, but we could not do this without the funding that you provide us. So I ask your consideration to continue to fund the programs for Endeavors so we can continue to serve our nation's heroes and so we can continue to save lives, marriages, and families. Thank you, commissioners. May God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Next, I call up Laura Knoll, also from Endeavors.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, as Ben said, thank you so much for your continued support of our mission. My name is Laura Knoll, and today actually marks the 1-year anniversary of me having the immense privilege of serving as Endeavor's Director of Behavioral Health. Thus far, this grant year, we've provided over 2,300 therapy sessions to 336 veterans, 78 dependents, and 5 surviving spouses, well exceeding our goal of serving 250 eligible persons. One success story I'd like to highlight is that of a Cold War veteran who had significant PTSD due to losing 2 fellow soldiers during a training exercise in Germany and having to handle their bodies. He told us that he had tried several times to get care, both mental health care and medical care, at the VA over the decades, but felt pushed aside, particularly after 9/11 veterans started to be seen at VA. The client had heard about Endeavors by a coworker in San Antonio who said they'd been provided excellent and respectful care. The veteran was able to be seen within 2 weeks of reaching out, engaged in EMDR treatment for his PTSD and substance misuse, and successfully discharged after 14 sessions, no longer meeting the criteria for PTSD. And also at the time of discharge, he had been completely sober for 2 months. Regarding any possible future funding, while my staff and I provide mental health services for all military veterans and their dependents, this grant will help us continue to provide much needed care to pre-9/11 veterans, veteran dependents, and those who may have a less than honorable discharge. These populations are either ineligible for VA care or typically find it very difficult to be afforded the care they need and deserve. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak today. Do you have any questions?
We are not allowed to have a discussion on this at this time, but we will be discussing the grants later in this,
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
in the later section. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next, I call up Tonya Parks. I ask that only Tonya Parks comes up. If someone else wants to speak, we need a form for that person as well. Okay, that's fine.
Hi, my name is Tanya Parks, and this is my mother, Frances Gibson. We are here today as a family. My father, Benny Gibson, is a Vietnam veteran. He's 79 years old, and he had been working with the TVC, I believe, since 2021 or 2022, to try to help him get his benefits. I come from a family of just a military background. My grandfather was a Korean vet, and my dad was a Vietnam vet. And so we come from a history of military, and I come here today very disappointed in the services that we received from the TVC, with my father being a Vietnam vet, wanting and having injuries from, serving as a Vietnam vet. He has severe PTSD that I have lived with. I'll be 50 on Sunday. And my father has never flown in a plane. He has anxiety that whenever we travel, separation anxiety from some of the experiences that he experienced in the war. And so we're coming here today, and I'm asking for you guys to look at and hold individuals like Juan Amelia, Michael Munoz, Salvador Costello, who gave false promises to my father, giving him deadlines that were never met, to kind of just hold the whole process up and create a lot of unnecessary delays in my father getting benefits, and also didn't even file documents that they told us that they were filing on my father's behalf, which caused additional stress and anxiety, where I almost thought I was going to lose my father due to the stress, because my father is a very prideful man. And he has had these injuries from day one. And he never wanted to be known as having any kind of disability, because he is an advocate. He fights for others. He fights for the rights of others. He's just a true veteran that stands behind. You never leave anybody behind. And so The way he was treated by individuals that were lying to us, telling us things that were not true. And then after it was all said and done, when they knew that my father was going to get denials, they ended up, Mr. Cantu ends up sending me an email on March 8th telling us that the TVC had withdrew their power of attorney of my father. Well, that was not even true. So they left my father, basically they shot him in the foot and then just left him there to bleed with no one to advocate for him. And it was all a lie because we had to receive information through the Public Information Request Act because I asked for the letter. They never notified my father that they were going to be, removing his power of attorney. Nothing. Just they sent me an email. That was it. And they removed my father. Mr. Cantu actually removed my father from the email. And this was done because I met with Mr. Cantu, my mother and I, Mr. Salvador, and told him that we have audio recordings of all of the messages, all of the recordings that we have with Mr. Amelia and also Mr. Munoz. And I played one of those recordings there to show him that. And so out of retaliation, they withdrew from my father and then did not even tell him and then didn't even provide him notice and then sent a backdated document to the VA stating that they had withdrew from March 8th, but they didn't even send the letter until March 22nd to the VA to notify them. So my father was never able to find someone else to handle his claim. And that was hurtful. On March 8th, I spoke with Dr. Bldg. I was in tears. Didn't know what to do when I received this email. I had no idea what to do. And even Dr. Bldg Harris told me that he would not recommend me telling my father about this withdrawal until I found somebody else. But I couldn't find anybody else. You know why? Because my dad doesn't trust anybody. He has lost trust in the system. He has lost trust in having someone advocate for him because they tell you one thing and they're doing a complete opposite. And we were able to find, I have concrete evidence and I provided multiple documents, emails, the audio recordings, and those are just a few. I have other ones too. My conversations where Juan Amelia was just telling us just stuff that wasn't even making sense, And so anyway, I just want you to hold these individuals accountable because my father is 79. They need their benefits. He's owed his benefits. They filed the documents incorrectly. And then I had even asked to be an authorization from my father's benefits. I gave those forms to Mr. Costello and they
Thank
didn't
you.
even
Thank you
process.
for your comments. I'm sorry, the 5 minutes is up.
Thank you.
Next, I'll have Mitch Fuller with Texas VFW.
Morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Mitch Fuller. I'm the Legislative Director for the Texas VFW. Commissioner Wright, congratulations on your appointment. And I see from your bio, you're from Frisco, and that's one of our best VFW posts in Texas, post 8273. Sheena Lawless is the post commander there, and she's one of the very best that we have. So you come from a great city with a great one of our best VFW posts. I've got before you, Commissioners, our national legislative priorities. We support 96 bills that are in Congress right now, and these are our top 4 that you have in front of you. I just want to go over these really quick. So number 1 is the Guard VA Benefits Act. We want the penalties restored for claim sharks. There is no reason anybody should have to pay to get our earned benefits. I mean, the TVC does great work. We do great work. The Disabled American Veterans, our great county veteran service officers in Texas do great work. And Attorney General Paxton is actually suing one of these companies, which is Texas-based VA Claims Insider. And that very name speaks of claim sharks. There is no magic bullet to get the earned benefits that we have. The VA is an evidence-based system, and there's no magic carpet or secret squirrel tunnel to get in there. And a lot of these companies are preying on our veterans and charging them extremely exorbitant fees. So we are going to fight that, and that's our number one. It's free. We all know that, and there's great resources to do that. Speaking of claims, I did something I should have done about 10 years ago or more. I filed my VA claim last May, and I got a rating, and I used Wanamaya. So Wanamaya at the time was the Williamson County Veteran Service Officer. So I'm going to praise him for that, because he took good care of me, and I know he's taken care of several veterans. I got a rating, and I am very pleased with the VA process right now. So I'm, a year into it, and it's going very well. The VA takes a beating sometimes. It's been working well for me. Thank you, Wanamaya. Secondly, and Mr. Palladino and a lot of your staff were at the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee yesterday, and Senator Parker asked some really good questions about the federal and state coordination of this. So there's a couple of pieces of legislation that will do that. So that kind of will help facilitate that. We advocate for the Not Just a Number Act. That's a second bill, and that will raise the Office of Suicide Prevention to an enterprise level within the VA that will report directly to the VA secretary, and it's tying the benefits if a veteran is not getting benefits. And so rather than the VHA side, it's the VBA side and coordinating that. Third, and this is really what will address Senator Parker's concerns, and that's the TAP Promotion Act, the Transition Assistance Program. We are asking the VA and DOD to move further back before a service member gets out of active duty and start that process of benefits delivery at discharge, and have accredited representatives there on the ground, like the TVC, like the VFW, where we can get active duty service members who are going to be veterans into the VA system faster. And then finally, the Major Richard Starr Act, we think has some legs. It's going to be part of the NDAA, and that is the concurrent receipt for your medical retirement and your benefits. And we decided to focus on the 50,000 or so combat related wounds and injuries that's going to be targeted for. So two separate slices of the pie that if a service member was medically retired due to an injury, they should get both. They should get both of those. And finally, as we know, the legislature is going to convene in January. The Senate Veterans Affairs was yesterday, as we know. Our top priority nationally, and especially in Texas, and Texas is further ahead of the national VFW on this, alternatives to opioids. And we are going to defend vigorously again to make sure hemp-derived consumables, Delta 8, Delta 9 gummies, remain legal in Texas. Opioids are a scourge. And to quote a fellow veteran who's also an author, the pharmaceutical industry and DOD and VA have an unholy alliance. Pills are not the answer. Pills are the default treatment for that. Let us choose as individual veterans how we want to address it. The VFW is grateful for our partnership with the TVC, and thank you very much, and look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you. Nice seeing you again, Mitch.
Thank you.
Last, I have Tony Dale with the Veteran Land Board.
Madam Chair, members, my name is Tony Dale. I'm the Executive Secretary of the Texas Veterans Land Board. And I just want to invite each of you, if you'd like to come out to our cemeteries on Memorial Day. We're having an event at each of them. And Mr. Palladino, I've sent you an email this morning that lists the locations and times that each of those start, so he can get that out to each of you. And in Killeen, we're going to have the governor there in addition to Commissioner Buckingham. So that's going to be a pretty special event for us, but we're going to have great one up in Abilene too. So maybe I'll see you up there, Mr. Hernandez. And then on June 4th, Mr. Barber, thank you for accepting our invitation to tour our Houston home. And I'd like to extend that invitation to each of you as well. We have 9, soon to be 10 state veterans nursing homes across the state, and happy to host you at any of those at any time so you can see what they look like. And Mr. Wright, we're going to be opening one in Fort Worth later this year, and we'll make sure that not only you, but everybody will get an invitation, but you live close by. So we'll make sure you get a special one. So anyways, that's all I have. Thank you for your time, and look forward to hearing your meeting today.
Thank you, Tony. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to speak that didn't get an opportunity to sign up? Okay. Well, then that ends our section of public comments. Moving on to the consent agenda. Commissioners, you've received an email detailing the procedures regarding the consent agenda. Are there any questions on consent agenda procedures? I know this is the first time we're using consent agenda. Okay. So Commissioners, the consent agenda items are listed on your commission meeting agenda listing. At this time, does any commissioner wish to remove anything off the consent agenda and place it on the regular agenda for discussion? The items on the consent agenda are FY24 second quarter commission meeting minutes held on February 13th, 2024, proposed quadrennial rule review, Title 40, Texas Administrative Code, Part 15, Chapter 1461, Veterans Education, Veteran Services Advisory Committee member appointment of Holly Morrison, internal auditor selection, and acceptance of gifts. Is there any commissioner who would like to remove any of these items for discussion? Okay. Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion is approved. Thank you. We move on to presentation section. We'll start off with the FY24 internal audit update, and I'll ask Daniel Graves from Weaver Risk Advisory Services to give us this presentation. Right there.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here today. Do have an internal audit status update for the commissioners. We have one internal audit on the plan this year with 3 follow-ups and a risk assessment update. The internal audit on the plan this year was for claims assistance. That scope of that audit is focusing on the processes of claims assistance through the VA claims, appeals, benefits compensation calculations, and family and survivor benefits. So those processes, controls, and their efficiency. We kicked off that audit on April 2nd and started our on-site fieldwork April 8th. We are in progress and anticipated to end that. We're almost done with our fieldwork and we're going through our quality control procedures now. We'll be able to close that out through the end of this month, and we'll have a total report for you at the next commission meeting, along with the status of the follow-ups. We will kick those off later this month and have those completed in June and have 3 additional reports. We'll have 4 reports. I take that back. We'll have 4 internal audit reports to present to you, as well as the annual internal audit report at the next board meeting, commission meeting. Any
Thank you.
questions?
Commissioners, any questions? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next is agenda item 4B, quarterly presentation from the advisory committees. And I'll ask the chair of the advisory committees to give this report. First is the Veteran County Service Officer Advisory Committee. Do we have someone who'll be presenting on their behalf? Okay. Do we have staff, Tom? Anyone? Okay, so the meeting was canceled. Got it. Okay, so there will be no report from the Veteran County Service Officer Advisory Committee. Next would be the Veteran Services Advisory Committee, and Earl is here.
Good morning, Madam Chairwoman, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be back. For the record, I'm Lieutenant Colonel retired Earl Newsom, Chairman of the Veteran Services Advisory Committee. I'd like to start off by again thanking you for the support of your staff. As we organize our committee and submit your recommendations, we have to go through that long process. We've streamlined it a bit, as you know, by using subcommittee format, where we get on calls with your staff and start working up draft recommendations. And then when we have our quarterly meetings, we vote on those and then make them final to go to you. But even after that step, for example, yesterday we approved our draft recommendations for submission and comment. We're going to still have to wait until August when our minutes are approved before they're really submitted to you formally. But what happens in that process and all those interims between the subcommittee meetings and our meetings, your staff work with us, being either on the calls or in the meetings with us. And a lot of times, by the time the minutes are actually signed off, they've already started action on those things we talked about. I'll give you an example. You know, we've constantly been talking about improvements to the website. And I went to the website a couple of days ago, and it's even fancier than it was a couple of months ago. So your staff basically is very cooperative. It works with us as we're going through this process. And, again, it's kind of hard once you only meet once a quarter to get stuff done, because you could be almost a year before you see the products. But what your guys and ladies do as we're going through the process, they don't wait until it's stamped off by you or whatever. If it makes sense, they get it done. So I want to say that, because it is a kind of a cumbersome process, and I can see how people get frustrated. But because we have the cooperation between your staff and our committee members, it works out. The two areas that we've been focusing on now are the Veteran Entrepreneur Program and outreach to veterans who are over 55. On the Entrepreneur Program, we focus on two areas and submitted recommendations yesterday. Looking at the administrative processes, and then also looking at the website on the Entrepreneur tab there on the website. And we identified marked improvements on the website there. And we also, on the Entrepreneur Program, identified one other area to put as a focus on there, the centralized master bidding list. Because think about it, you want to be an entrepreneur to make money. And they have information in there as a resource about the HUB program. But we found out, it doesn't belong to you guys, it belongs to the state comptroller. You could pay your $70 and get on that listing where you can submit the bids. People are being entrepreneurs because they want to make money. So here's a way to get them in there. So I think what you have when we meet, we're another set of fresh eyes. And we're not just looking at what TVC puts out there, but what every state organization does. You've got a requirement for giving vet prep for contracts. So this is another way to get the word out on that. On the other area we're focusing on with your staff is outreach to veterans in the state who are over 55. A current fact sheet that's out there this year basically says that 37% of the veterans in Texas are over 55. We talked about people coming through the TAP briefings, and we know they get that funnel put in their mouth. They've given all that information when they get ready to separate. Some of them use it then, some of it don't. But the other things that happens in that gap between TAP briefing and TAPs is life things take over. And there's a lot of programs out there that veterans can use as they get older that they aren't aware of. I'll give you an example. The land board guys are here. I helped two families get family members in the Houston home. One of them turned 100 years old while he was there when the mayor's spokes came out there and all. But I bring that up not to pat me on the back, but to say one of them was 100% service-connected veteran. He was in the Michael DeBakey home there, and it was my cousin's husband who was the veteran. And I said, ask the social worker about the veterans home that's right down the road. Because when they were given her places to place her husband, they were all the contract nursing homes. It wasn't one person that was talking about using the state home. And when the social worker was asked about that, she said, I have to check to see if they have a dementia ward or dementia service. And I'm not doing that to knock them, but I'm saying we assume a lot of times that people see the stuff in the newspaper and know it. So there's services out there that are available through the different state agencies that everybody can't know everything at one time, but it's still a need for outreach. It's a need for outreach because you've seen in the past, veterans really don't know a lot about their benefits. And then sometimes we get stovepipes where you know about your stuff, but you may know about the other person's stuff. So it's constantly a need on that. So with 37% of your veterans who are out there who are over 55, we think there's a need for targeted outreach. And so what we did yesterday with Angela, we looked at the things that the programs that were out there that were specific towards older veterans. That's mainly the state cemeteries and the state homes. But then you look at all the other stuff that's available, property tax relief, license plates, drivers, state parks. It's a lot of stuff out there that veterans could use. So as much as we can get that out there with them, we want to try to do that. So we gave you some recommendations yesterday. We'll actually sign off on them in our August meeting, but your folks are already starting to look at it. And with the outreach to the people who are over 55, maybe an opportunity with Veterans Day coming up. I saw your Memorial Day video out there on YouTube, ma'am. It may be somewhere if you give Angela some money, we can kick in something to get something targeted around by Veterans Day on there. So again, your staff works with us. There's a lot of information up there, but again, we're still finding there's a lack of awareness for veterans out there on those programs. And the key thing is, a lot of times they don't look to us until things are real bad. You know, when it's a crisis, I see your head's nodding, you know that. It's, you know, Dad's the World War II vet, he's the Vietnam vet, and we don't know what to do. And then somebody finally says, is she a veteran? And then they start coming to us. So again, thank your staff for the work that they do with us. And it's been a very productive program, and I thank you for your cooperation. Any questions?
Thank you, Earl. Any questions, commissioners?
Just one real quick on the, we're tracking the spouses as well.
Kevin, can you move the microphone so it's close?
So I apologize. We're tracking the spouses as well, right? With the licensing and things like that are available for them.
I don't know who's if that is being tracked.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're looking at
Oh,
the-
yeah. Oh, yeah.
along with
Yeah.
the spouses
Yeah.
as well,
Oh, yeah.
we talk
Yeah.
about the veterans.
Yeah, and yeah, that's what you get when you get us on the committee, because we come from different parts of the state,
Yeah.
different backgrounds. And so, you know, we're members of the church, we're members of the VFW and all that. So we bring that information in there. Also, some of our past occupations. For example, I was deputy director for the Center for Minority Veterans at VA. So I heard all the briefings and all for 10 years. And I know some of the people up there. So, you know, I've seen the studies and talk about lack of awareness and all that. I worked with the people from the Survivor Assistance Office. So we bring up those things in there to say, we don't just look at TVC's website. We look at, in your experiences, we look through our communities and all that and bring that in. We're your eyes and ears out there.
Perfect.
So we try to do that.
Great. Thanks.
Any other questions? Well, thank you, Earl. Thank you for your partnership as always. And thank you for recognizing our new website. I'm sure Angela will talk about it a little bit more on the agenda, but appreciate you mentioning that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move to the reports section of the agenda. Agenda item 4A includes agency programs and division updates. I'll call on each division director, deputy executive director, and the executive director to provide an update to the commission. First is the program operations division director, Charles Cato.
Good morning, Chair Kerner, Commissioners, Mr. Palladino. For the record, I'm Charlie Cato, the Division Director for Program Operations. And I'm privileged today to give you the Program Operations Report for this quarter. I tried to stick with a theme this time. There's an awful lot of stuff going on in our division, but I'm going to go with the training theme today. So you'll kind of see that as we go through the documents. Starting out, our Healthcare Advocacy Department had their semi-annual training. They hosted it virtually in mid-April. That agenda is item A in your folder, and you can kind of see they saved a little money on travel doing it virtually. The next one they'll have will be in person. They covered a wide variety of topics, things like HR, compassion fatigue, service animals, office safety, and security. And they also had some outside presenters come in. They had the Veterans Land Board come in and discuss their programs to widen their focus. They heard from the Fund from Veterans Assistance, internal to TVC, and they also got information from the VA on their whole health program. And they had the VA active shooter from the VA police give their course there, because of course our healthcare advocates are within the VA facility. So very well received training, 2 days virtually back in April. Now shifting over to claims. The item that you have is item B in your folder there. And if I'd like you to look at it, if you could pull it up, because I want to go through it. It's a very colorful document. And this is going over the Mentor Trainer Liaison Program. We recently adopted this as a suggestion that came out of the VCSO Advisory Committee for Mentor Trainer Liaisons. What you have here is this colorful document, and on the left-hand side is a calendar with highlighted dates. Those colors coincide with districts, the 4 districts, and their color, the decode document for which color means which district is in the lower right-hand corner. But what I want you to note is they've set up training such that there are 1 advanced training and 1 initial training per district per quarter. but then they're deconflicted such that there is one initial and one advanced training somewhere in Texas every month. And VCSOs can go, if they can travel, they can go to any one. They don't have to wait till it comes to their district. More information is you can see on the right-hand side, the columns list by training event RSVP. So the number of people that registered, and then the VCSO and the CBA columns are the number of people that attended. See how well attended they are, how many hours they earned, whether it was advanced or initial training. And this calendar is great because it goes out now through the end of our calendar year and shows where all the training is. There's a lot of training available. This training is done by our mentor trainer liaisons or MTLs. So it is all standardized. The curriculum is stuff that they've developed with input from our CVSOs and our CBAs. The second page lists the locations with an address and who the facilitator for the training is. So if it's something near you or something you're interested in and you'd like to see, just let us know and we'd be happy to have you be there. As you can see from the hosting, the locations, it's just an address, but for the most part, it's the counties that are helping us out with hosting locations. Any questions on the MTL training calendar? Really excited about that program. Okay, moving on to the annual claims training conference. You all should have some information about that. Item C is that the claims conference agenda as it sits right now. The conference will be held in Denton on July 16th, 17th, and 18th. Highlights on the agenda, I just want to point out, will be farewelling and honoring former Commissioner Shanefeld. We'll be hearing from both of the VA Regional Office Executive Directors and the VA's Veteran Service Officer Liaison, Marty Caraway, is actually going to attend as well. There's a plethora of items, breakout training sessions, so we're looking forward to a really good training conference with both our claims benefits advisors and our county veteran service officers. So on to veterans education. We got a really unique request for training from the Texas A&M University system. We've never had this before. They asked us, hey, could you guys provide us some focused training just for our system, for our student certifying officials, school certifying officials, and we'd like to come to Austin. Don't know why, but they wanted to come to Austin to do that. They set the agenda and we said, well, we've never done this before, but we certainly will. So on June 12th, I don't have the agenda for you because it's Zoom, but I'll tell you about it. On June 12th, we expect a little over 50 of school certifying officials from across the state for the Texas A&M system to actually meet in this room. And our Veterans Education Department is going to provide them a day's worth of training. The topics that they were looking for, obviously GI Bill, the state approving agency processes, what we do to approve schools. They want specifically to talk about some of their programs and their program approvals, ask questions and discuss. They also want to talk about some Hazelwood. That's a lot of topics, but that's going to cover the morning. The afternoon, they asked for a little bit of broadening stuff. So we're going to give them some stuff from our Texas departments, employment, claims, mental health, women veterans, and our grants department are all going to come in and just give them a little bit of broadening so they know what is available when they're working with students at their campuses. So we're real excited about that initiative and came as a request to do that. And finally, for employment, you have later on in the agenda, the TVC Employer Awards, and the Director Anna Baker is going to come up and present those to you. So with that, I will conclude our remarks and take any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Any questions, commissioners? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, I call up Chip Osborne, Resource Management Division Director.
Good morning, Chairman Kerner, Commissioners, Mr. Palladino, my colleagues and guests that happen to be attending. For the record, my name is Chip Osborne. I'm the Division Director for Resource Management. I would like to introduce the following people. It's my pleasure to introduce the following individuals that happen to be doing an internship with our agency. The first one happens to be Joanne Orozco.
Orozco.
Thank you. For some reason, I am getting tongue-tied on her name. She will be working with our Funds for Veterans Assistance Department, where she will serve as our communication coordinator. Joanne recently retired from the Active Guard Reserve, better known as the AGR program, with the Texas Army National Guard, with an impressive 25 years of service as a medical service officer. Throughout her career, she has supported over 19,000 soldiers and airmen in various medical, administrative, and soldier support roles. Joanne is excited to continue serving her fellow Texas veterans and spend some more lovely time with her daughter, Gabriella. So we want to welcome you, Joanne. Thank you for being with us. Awesome.
Welcome.
The second individual I want to introduce is Carlos Sigcho. He also retired and getting ready to retire with the AGR program with the Texas Army National Guard after serving 27 years of a distinguished military service career. He holds a bachelor's degree in sociology from the University of Texas and a master's in business administration from Weber University. He has served in various leadership and command roles within the Texas Army National Guard and brings a wealth of experience in cost analysis, project management, logistics, and finance. He recently served as the Director of Resource Management within the Texas Army National Guard. Welcome, Carlos. I do want to share just a little trivia before I go to the very last person I want to introduce. Both Carlos and Joanne completed the ROTC program under the University of Texas when our executive director happened to have been the associate professor of military science over there. Joanne also deployed with my wife when they went to Afghanistan. Carlos used to work for me over in the finance, and they both have had very successful careers. And I am tickled that y'all chose my division to come to. I am so thankful for them.
And
The
from what
last-
I understand, Tom also commissioned both
Yes,
Carlos
he did.
and Joanne.
He did. He did. The last person I want to introduce, it was unfortunate. Our prior CFO we had was a Navy veteran, not holding that against him. But he left us, went to another agency. He is still in the state system, doing a great job there. But we were very fortunate to get this young lady that will be coming up and briefing right after I sit down. Stephanie Robinson is our new CFO, Chief Financial Officer. Stephanie holds a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Idaho and a master's degree in business administration from Texas A&M. Central Texas. She is currently pursuing a second master's degree in accounting with emphasis in data analytics, liking that, from Texas A&M. Stephanie has more than 10 years experience in budget, financial management. Most recently, Stephanie has served as the Assistant Deputy Director of Budget and Planning at the Texas Commission of Environmental Quality, TCEQ. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like for us to welcome Stephanie. And Stephanie Robinson, if you don't mind, just please come this way, because Stephanie, ma'am, that concludes my portion, because other directors within my department will be briefing you. But Stephanie is going to come up and do the budget review for you guys for the second quarter. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chip. Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you. Thank you, Chip. Good morning, Chair Kerner, Commissioners, Mr. Palladino. For the record, I am Stephanie Robinson, Chief Financial Officer of the Texas Veterans Commission. I am here to present this morning the appropriation year 2024 second quarter operating statement. In your folder, you should have two documents. The first, the appropriation year 2024 second quarter operating statement graphs brief, for which I will provide a summary. And the second document is the informational second quarter operating statement, which provides the details to that summary if you'd like additional information. So back on the briefing document, beginning with page 1, the first chart provides an overview of the operating budget by expense category. The appropriation year 2024 operating budget totals $64.5 million. and is comprised largely of grants at 53.6%, salaries and wages at 40.9%, with the remaining 5.5% of the budget allocated to professional fees and services, operating expenses, training, and supporting costs. The second chart provides a comparison of second quarter expenses to the operating budget with an overall non-grant expenditure of 47%. So we are on target for this point in the year. Of course, grant expenditures will begin to pick up in the later part of the year as we award grants. And on page 2, the first chart provides an illustration of the method of finance for the 2024 operating budget, which reflects the funds for veterans assistance at 48%, general revenue at 32.2%, and federal funds at 19.4% of the total budget, with other funds at less than 1% of our total budget. And other funds includes items such as appropriated receipts, interagency contracts, and the license plate trust fund. And the second chart on this page provides an overview of the second quarter expenses by method of finance in comparison to the expenditures funded primarily with general revenue at 51.7% and federal funds at 42%. And again, the amount of expenditures funded by FVA will pick up in the later part of the year as we award grants. And finally, the page 3 provides a summary of the fiscal year 2024 lottery revenue estimation. The table includes estimates for annual lottery revenues, unclaimed prizes, and prior year grant deobligations and other sources of revenue compared to the estimated FVA expenses for the year. And the FVA expenses also includes the $3 million contingency, which prior to 2022 was set at $5 million. Based on this analysis, there is an estimated surplus of $17.6 million, bringing the estimated total available for the grant RFA to $47.6 million. This concludes my presentations. Thank you. I'm available for comments if you have any.
Thank you, Stephanie. Commissioners, any questions? I do have one question. So regarding the lottery revenue estimation, since that number is going to be important later in the agenda. So 47.6 million is available to be awarded while still keeping our reserves. Is that correct?
So the 47.6 does keep a $3 million contingency, and that is an estimated amount. So we still have to generate revenue for the remainder of the year to actually total that 47.6, because that includes revenue estimates for the remainder of this year.
Assuming we get about $30 million in revenue like we normally do, is that
correct?
Okay.
It's been holding steady. The reason for the increase in this year's available amount is the deobligations from the prior years being carried forward to this year.
Okay. Is there any concern if we were to fully award the 47.6 for, say, next year? If we only get $30 million in revenue, there might be a concern that we may not be able to renew all of the grants we award this year.
Yeah, so it is not, again, most of the reason that we have the 47.6 million is largely related to the deobligations in addition to the estimated revenue. If we only generate the 30 million and hold steady in next year, that could be an issue as far as completing the renewals in addition to the regular, RFA grant.
Okay, so it wasn't because we had a significant increase in revenue. It just happened to be deobligations. So next year we anticipate still getting approximately $30 million in revenue. We don't know if there's going to be any deobligations. So we should probably think about that before expending all the 47.6.
Correct. Because,
Okay.
Because just to note, the last two previous years, it's my understanding that historically we stayed 30 million, but the last couple of years we've gone above that when we're awarding. So that's shown an increase in the amount of deobligation.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Any other questions on that? We'll just put a pin in that for the later part of our discussion.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else, Chip, in your section? Okay. Okay. Next is Deputy Executive Director Sean DeBay.
Good morning, Chairwoman, Commissioners, and Mr. Palladino. For the record, my name is Sean DeBay, the Deputy Executive Director. I promised to be very brief, and there was a lot of things going on in the back end of this agenda. Following me will be Dr. Crystal Matthews to talk about June 14th, Women Veterans Day, some cool events going around, so she'll want to talk about that. And then Angela Woolner will talk about the world of our communications and outreach and give you some statistics. I just want to update you on one item. So yesterday, the Senate for Veteran Affairs Committee met on 3 interim charges. The first interim charge was about veterans' mental health resources. And we had Dr. Blake Harris, our Director for Veterans Mental Health Department, discuss the resources available in Texas. We also had Melissa Harcrow, our Women Veterans Coordinator from El Paso, to talk about her experiences helping women veterans in El Paso and the local area benefits that are there. The second interim charge was about a potential data management system, and Tom Palladino addressed the committee talking about the proactive approach. If we had a database system that would have contact information for veterans, the benefit that would create by proactively reaching out to veterans instead of waiting for them to have a need and then try to reach out for resources. So he talked about that benefit. And then the last one was about veterans homelessness and affordable housing. Dr. Blake Harris also testified on that to talk about the resources available in Texas when it came to that item. I want to thank Gary Medina, who our government relations officer who coordinated all that, but special thanks to Melissa, who came all the way from El Paso and did an absolutely fantastic job testifying yesterday. So subject to your questions, I'm just going to turn over to Dr. Matthews.
Any questions? Thank you, Sean.
Hi, good morning, Chairwoman, Commissioners, Mr. Palladino, staff, and visitors. For the record, my name is Dr. Crystal Matthews, and I am the Director for the Women Veterans Program. So today, I just wanted to come and update you all on some of our upcoming events for Women Veterans Day next month. As you know, we normally host one large event for the state, but because you guys have been working hard for us, we have, we're fully staffed, fully staffed. We have 5 full-time employees now. And so we do have one woman veteran coordinator in each district of the state, north, south, east, and west. And so this year we're doing something a little different. We're hosting an event in each district, and I'm super excited about that. So first up, we have our North Texas Women Veterans Day event where Catherine Smith is with lots of community partners, veteran service organizations, and nonprofits helping with this event. That event is going to consist of a suiting, resume review, mock interviewing, lunch, and a fashion show to close out the event. And that'll be held on Tuesday, June 4th at the Dallas World Trade Center in Dallas. The next event is in South Texas. Sharon Stewart, she's going to be partnering with a few organizations, Starlight Recovery Center, VA Whole Health, Sea Waves, and Women Veterans of San Antonio to host an honor and recognition event. The event is going to consist of guided breathing to start off the day, breakfast, and then a keynote speaker, raffle prizes, vendors, resource booths, and just engaging with women veterans that day. So that event is going to be held on Saturday, June 22nd from 9 to 12 at Rev Mortgage. The next event is going to be East Texas. And that event, it's actually our first event kicking off the month on June the 2nd. That is a Sunday, but it's going to be hosted and co-hosted by Dr. Ramona Todd and DAV Chapter 233 Women Veterans Committee. And that event is going to be at the Houston Marriott Sugarland from 3 to 7 p.m. And it's going to consist of a keynote speaker, networking, resource fair, raffle prizes throughout, spotlight speakers, and private claims intake. And we appreciate our claims department for being on site to do claims for veterans that are attending, as well as some of our other departments that are going to attend to support that event. And then in West Texas, we have Melissa Harcrow. She is partnering with the Women's Club of El Paso and the El Paso, Texas Women Veterans Group to host an event on Saturday, June 15th from 11 to 2 p.m. at the Women's Club of El Paso. And that event is going to consist of a keynote speaker, lunch, networking, vendor booths, and I'll be at each one of these events supporting. And so if you would like to attend, please let us know so we can get you on our program. We would love to have you. And that's all I have, pending any questions.
Any questions, commissioners? I know some of us have already RSVP'd to some of the events, so we look forward to attending.
Yes, we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Crystal.
Thank you.
And Angela?
Chairwoman, Commissioners, Mr. Palladino, pleasure to see you all today. For the record, I'm Angela Wellner, the Director of Communications and Veteran Outreach. And as was mentioned, we'll just do a quick scroll down the main webpage. We did just launch our new website, which again, congratulations to the team. All the departments really put a lot of work into getting information here. We reduced the amount of pages from over 200 to 50. That means it's a lot more compact. That means that people are better able to navigate it. It also just means that it moves faster. So again, this is going to be a great resource for our veterans, being able to better find our services right there on our website. Now I'm going to go to our prepared, I have this in your folder as well, an update for some of our analytics to let you know what we are going to be looking at in some of the past recent events. So we were very excited to restart our resource fairs with the Veterans Land Board. We held our first one on April 20th. We had Commissioner Hernandez there, as well as Executive Director Palladino, Deputy Executive Director Sean DeBay. We had more than 90 veterans attend, which again was great considering that it was a very stormy day. And basically the veterans still made a point to come out and do that. We had more than 16 vendors offering their services there. And we did actually just get word, it says there, next one in Tyler in July. We will actually have to move that to August. It will be August 10th at the Armory. Unfortunately, places have booked up in Tyler. So we're looking forward to providing our resources there and already working with the VLB on that one. Oh, let me go back up one. We've been at a lot of outreach events. I just wanted to highlight a couple. So these are some of the other ones that you commissioners have been at. Chair Kerner, you of course recently spoke at your American Legion post number 2 at a luncheon there. I know that they enjoy having you back and we'll have you back there again soon. And then Commissioner Barber, thank you for attending the Vet Fest by Combined Arms in Houston. It looks like it was a great event. A lot of people there. Great outreach for TVC. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Dale and Chair Kerner, you were at the Champions of Justice Gala, where I also had the honor of going with Mr. Palladino. It was a pleasure to be there as well. And then finally, Commissioner Wright, you were at the Wall That Heals in Frisco, also there at a VFW post. We just heard about that. Sounds like it was a great event. Great to have that wall. The only stop here in Texas this year. A couple of the upcoming events. Again, we're in a lot of events. I just wanted to highlight a couple. One of them is the 12th Annual Heroes Appreciation Barbecue in Georgetown. That usually brings a large crowd of veterans. I think they're expecting about 3,000. So that should be a great event for us to be participating at. Next, we have been in a series with the City of Austin and the local VA OPC here. For these briefings to veterans. Elaine Zavala with FVA actually will be our next presenter. We've already had claims and veterans education. Those have been great events highlighting our services. It's got both a hybrid element with in-person and there on site. And then finally, there's that event I mentioned, our upcoming resource fair, which will be in Tyler. We're in the organization phases for that right now and looking forward to that. All right, so to some of the numbers, always need to take a good look at your analytics and metrics to make sure that you are functioning and seeing how it's going. So taking a look at our social media, currently what we measure, this is for our performance measure. So while we also do have YouTube and Instagram, what currently goes towards our performance measure are these three: Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, as well as LinkedIn. I measured the previous quarter 2, to our previous quarter for fiscal year 23 to 24 to give an idea of a completed quarter. If you look at those total combined engagements for FY23 quarter two, nearly 7,000. If you take a look at FY24 quarter two, about 35,000. So as you see, that is a pretty big jump of 421%. That is largely attributed to taking a look at the numbers and increase used in LinkedIn. We now basically make sure we post anything that we are posting on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc. on LinkedIn. And then also we've had a few viral posts. One of them ironically was a Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day. People all across the state and even nation picked that one up. So you never know when a post can go viral. It was great for us to be the one that got picked up there. So on to LinkedIn again, because that is one of our big success stories. I just have to brag a little bit, of course, that we have great engagement numbers. You're allowed on LinkedIn to track competitors, and we tracked 10 competitors. So I had to line us up.
AKA other Texas agencies.
That's what I'm saying there. You
Okay.
see, and we've got some big ones there. We've got HHS, TWC. I, of course, had to go ahead and put those in there for a little brag. So glad to be getting the word out. Please feel free to share our posts and follow us on LinkedIn. All right. So one of our outreach campaigns that we did, which was social media, was for our military veteran peer network. That is, of course, covered under the umbrella of our Veterans Mental Health Department. So Blake's team provides them training. They recently had training back in February. That was great. Was pleased to attend. So we interviewed some of our MVPNs across the state. They are all excellent. Almost all of them are veterans or spouses of veterans, and they have great stories to share. And they make sure that they're on the ground to help the veterans where they are. And so we want to highlight them so people know you have one. The chances are very high in your county. We had over 200,000 impressions in that campaign and nearly 2,500 clicks. So that is a good campaign. One other really telling side of how well it performed was when you look at our website analytics and what pages are at the top, the mental health department usually is right around 36. And after this campaign, it rose to number 8. So a pretty hefty jump showing that people were interested and were clicking on that to go check out that resource that's available across the state. Our podcast, The Voice of Texas Veterans. I listen to it on my way in from work most Fridays. If you aren't already, go ahead, follow it. It's on any major platform that carries podcasts. Spotify's where I follow it. We've got, 964 impressions in the past 30 days. This was for the month of April. In addition to the podcast, this is also used on our radio stations. We air at 3 iHeartRadio clusters for a total of 11 radio stations, so 1.3 million users. This airs twice a quarter. And then finally, KNCT FM 91.3 airs the show twice a week. KCI also has a link on their website. Now, speaking of websites, and we took a look at that first, so I'm excited to see what our quarter 3 is going to look like when we come back around and finish up the month of May. When we measure the quarter 2 FY24 to quarter 2 FY23, as you can see, the number of sessions are well over 250,000, up 27% from that previous quarter from the other fiscal year. And then our users are also up 24%. So good to see people being driven to our webpage. That's the main place that we want people to go from our social media or whatever type of campaign we're getting from media, et cetera, because that's where they find the resources. Taking a look, I also decided to break it down by our third quarter to date, just to give you an idea. Our sessions are again already high because I measured this back in April. So that doesn't include any of the month of May we've been through so far. A lot of unique users. And this is the general page rankings. Hazelwood is always number 1. It probably is because a lot of users, of course, are just going straight to the database, our homepage, claims, grants, entrepreneur. Our eVets newsletter, again, has an impressive range of 145,000 veterans across Texas. People submit their success stories and news to our public affairs officer, Jim Hallbrook. Our open rate is right about 23%, that is a very good open rate for, a press release. If you get about 15 to 17%, that's considered successful. So it's a good open rate. And then finally, of course, some of you know I used to be in TV news, so I'm always a big fan of getting our earned media relations and interviews. We now have a new monthly segment on KXAN featuring different programs. The Veteran Entrepreneur Programs Director, Megan Tamez, was the last one. She did a great job. Dr. Matthews is going to be our next one coming up later this month. And we're also trying to make sure that we get pre-event coverage for the San Angelo event with the VLB. We went ahead and interviews there, letting folks know to come on out to it. Again, comparisons. This one is the FY to date, our news media mentions. So this again is not social media. This is print, television, radio, and on their webpage is mentioning us. We're up about 56%. It also shows at the bottom there who is reading us the most. And then when we look at again, the FY quarter twos compared, up about 260%, with Yahoo News, the top one. So it's always great whenever any of them bring up our name. All right, that concludes it. Does anyone have any questions?
Commissioners, any questions for Angela?
No, that was excellent.
No, that was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Appreciate you.
Next, we have our Executive Director, Thomas Palladino.
Thank you, Chairwoman, Commissioners, members of the public, TVC. Thank you all for coming today. Just be brief, some of our priorities that we're going to be doing this coming the rest of this fiscal year is that strategic plan will be presented to you today. We follow the governor's LOB's instructions, and we create one of these every other year. And in there will be our performance measures, which we turned into the LBB for approval. And then we made some adjustments to those. We've asked to eliminate some of the non-key measures and just focus on the key. And then later on in the LAR process, the legislative appropriation request will be adjusting the goals, the target goals to to be more in alignment with the services that we provide. That will feed into the legislative appropriation request, which will be presented in August to the commission for approval. And then, of course, we have to turn that into the LBB. Of course, we do that every other year as well, and even every year before the legislative session. And so that'll be put in with our budget. Stephanie Robinson will put that together with her team and Chip Osborne. And then we'll have exceptional items, and we'll present those to the commission in August, which is above and beyond the budget request. Other items of importance is I chair the Texas Coordinating Council of Veteran Services. So I've been doing that since I want to say since the 82nd legislative session, right? So that's what 2011. And so we will put together, we meet the work groups. Gary Medina's been hosting the work groups. I've been meeting with the council. It's made up of 20 state agencies. And then we provide a report to the governor, lieutenant governor, in the legislature on 1 October with recommendations to improve services to meet the needs of veterans and their families within the state. Also, there's a Women Veterans Report that Crystal's putting together, and I believe that's due also, I think, 1 November of this year. We had, as Sean mentioned, there was the Senate Veteran Affairs and the Defense Veteran Affairs in the House have put together interim charges, and then we testify those. So there was one hearing in the Senate. I'm sure there'll be one hearing in the House. We testified yesterday on mental health and creating a database which will allow us, a data management system, to manage the contact information that we can obtain from the Department of Defense Management Data Center. It's all the service members who are transitioning out of the service. That information is captured. And we lobbied the DOD and the VA to include us the last few years. So they finally did. But small states were like Idaho, Utah, Nevada, they were easily able to pull this data down. Large states like us, it costs considerable monies to in order to do something like that, to be able to pull it down, use the data, contact information, contact the service members, find out what services they need, and then link them up to the services to meet their need and do management. We also have the, part of that is to coordinate with other state agencies that serve veterans, whether it's the VLB or it's the Department of Motor Vehicles or it's DPS. And some of these other states do that, but again, at a much smaller scale. But this costs money. And so we've had some estimates from some of the private organizations that provide these services in other states, Qualtrics, TransUnion, Combined Arms, which runs the Texas Veterans Network. And so it could be, I think the highest estimate was 1.2 million and the lowest was 800,000. So we provided this information yesterday to Senator Hancock in the Committee of Veteran Affairs. And so they want us to put together a package. We're going to work with DIR, with Amanda Crawford, the Executive Director of DIR, and her staff, and put together what it would look like, and then provide that to the Senate Veteran Affairs and Defense Veteran Affairs to see, if there's any possibility of making that happen in the legislative session. The other thing that I did is I also gave accolades to the Texas Veterans Network, which is a different database. That's a different, it's a statewide referral network, which is currently under contract from the TWC. That that should continue, right? That is a great service for outside the agency, right? For services across the state, and I elaborated on that. I want to commend all of the programs out there for filling your vacancies, training them up, and doing continuous training across the quarters. Very important. Our turnover rate, I think, is around 17%, which is still below the state average. I think next commission meeting, Tina Marbury, Tina Whitus, I think her name changed to Whitus, and is our HR director. She's going to present some of that information. Also, there are employee satisfaction surveys, which UT Austin does every other year, which I think that we got good returns on that, and so we'll present that as well. So I thank everybody for providing the best services you can possibly provide. Understanding that we do have a turnover rate. We're filling vacancies, training people up, in and making sure that we're working together collectively with other state agencies, the federal government, and with our counties. Working with our counties is very important. We work with our county partners in our cities to provide these services and to coordinate services in network between referring back and forth between the services. And it's not an easy task, especially with all the veterans that need assistance. And they don't all, we don't help everybody. We try to refer if we can't provide the services, but we work with all of our other partners, between us and them, we try to help them as best we can. So keep up the good work, and appreciate that. And I'll turn that back.
Thank you, Tom. Commissioners, any questions? Okay, so that ends our report section. We have some consideration items on our agenda. Commissioner's question. I know we have a longer meeting today. Do we want to handle the first couple of consideration items and then take a break? Or would you like to take a break now? Because I know we'll probably need one at some point.
First couple, probably.
Okay, let's get through the first couple, and right before we get into the FVA, we'll take a short. Okay, so moving on to agenda item 6A, action regarding commission officer elections. As commissioners, with the departure of Commissioner Schoenfeld, we are required to fill the position of vice chair for the remainder of the fiscal year. At this time, I'll accept nominations for commission vice chair.
I nominate Mary Lopez Dale as vice chairwoman.
Okay, so Commissioner Barber nominated Commissioner Dale. Microphone, please. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Dale, do you accept this nomination?
I will accept the nomination.
Okay. Any other nominations for vice chair? All those in favor of appointing Commissioner Dale as the vice chair of the Texas Veterans Commission, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
With that, Commissioner Dale used to be the secretary of the Texas Veterans Commission. And so now we have a vacancy for the secretary position of the commission. Do I hear any nominations for commission secretary?
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Barber.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, okay. Commissioner Barber, are you willing to accept this nomination?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any other person who would like to be secretary? Okay. With that being said, all those in favor of appointing Commissioner Barber as the commission secretary, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes, and congratulations, secretary. I hope you've been taking notes this whole time.
Yes, ma'am. This will be my second time. So.
Okay, moving on to agenda item 6B will be action regarding the Texas Veterans Commission Employer Awards. And I'll ask Anna Baker, Director of Employment, to give this report.
Good morning, Chairwoman Kerner, Commissioners, and Mr. Palladino. For the record, my name is Anna Baker, and I'm the Director of Veterans Employment Services. So I am pleased this morning to present to you our recommendations for TBC Employer of the Year Awards. These employers were chosen out of a pool of 98 submissions from our staff, and that's pretty impressive. These are scored based on the number of veterans employed, the number of veterans hired, and the quality of the narrative that is submitted. Scoring is conducted by a coach from each of the 5 districts, and then those employers receiving the highest average score are noted in the document that you have in your presentation package. So I'm going to start with the Small Employer of the Year. The team chose InPower out of Dallas, Texas. They were nominated by Veteran Employer Liaison Joshua Pinson out of Central Texas District. They have a workforce of 26, with 54% of them being veterans, and their new hires were 50% veteran as well. For the Medium Employer of the Year, they chose Shadow Systems LLC out of Plano, Texas. They were nominated by VEL James Gutierrez out of the North Texas District, and they have a workforce of 103, with 24.3% being veterans, and their new hires 22.5%. The Large Employer of the Year is BNSF Railway out of Fort Worth, Texas, nominated by VEL Marianne J. Zimmerman out of Gulf Coast. Workforce of 36,000 plus, with 19.5% being veterans and 29.2% of their new hires being veterans. We also have a small, our government entity awards. So this is, we're recognizing local, state, and federal entities in this category. So for our small government entity, we actually had a tie this year. And instead of breaking the tie, we decided to to recognize both. The first will be Dallas College, their Military Connected Services Department out of Dallas, Texas, nominated by VEL Vanita Robinson from our North Texas District. They have a workforce of 9, and 78% of them are veterans, and their last new hires were also veterans at 100%. We also are recognizing, and I'm really pleased about this one because this is one of our closest partners, and I work very closely with their director, Mr. Bob Gear, the Texas Veterans Leadership Program of the Texas Workforce Commission here in Austin, Texas. They were nominated by our Rural Veteran Career Advisor, Pamela Harden of North Texas. They have a workforce of 22, and 100% of them are veterans, and their new hires are all veterans as well. For our Medium Government Entity of the Year, we're looking at North Texas Municipal Water District out of Wiley, Texas. They were actually, the city of Wiley was actually a winner last year. So they're doing a great job in hiring veterans in that part of the state. They were nominated by T. Hewling of the North Texas District. They have a workforce of 895, 8% are veterans, and 3% of their new hires were veterans as well. And then finally, for our Large Government Entity of the Year, the City of Houston, the Mayor's Office of Veteran and Military Affairs. So they were nominated by VEL Marianne J. Zimmerman of the Gulf Coast District. Their total workforce is 21,250, with 16.1% veterans, and 9.4% of their new hires are veterans. So if you don't have any questions, this is up for your consideration.
Thank you, Anna. Any questions? And just for clarification, we will be giving formal presentations to these probably throughout the year after we vote on this, right?
Yes, ma'am. That's correct. And definitely hope that you'll be able to attend those with us when we make those presentations.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Wright?
Not that it bothers me at all, because I'm up in North Texas. And for those who don't know, Wiley is a suburb of Dallas, but we've got a real heavy concentration in North Texas, which is great because we've got some great employers up there. Is that just purely a coincidence this year?
Well, it could be a coincidence, but it also depends on the number of submissions that each of our staff present to us. And I will tell you that we did get a large concentration of submissions from T. Hewling. So not only did she, I can't even remember how many she had. I mean, she double-digit submissions, which is way more than is required of them. But I think she even had some winners as part of our partnership with American Legion and the DAV, who also have employer awards. So just some people they just did very well. Marianne in Gulf Coast, Jay Zimmerman, she also had a large number of submissions this year, which is, we did see a lot of concentration in Gulf Coast winners.
Any other questions? Okay. Commissioners, do I hear a motion to approve the Texas Veterans Commission Employer Awards?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And the motion is approved. Thank you,
Thank
Anna.
you.
And I guess the last agenda before our break will be agenda item 6C, which is action regarding the 2025, 2020 to 2029 TVC strategic plan. And I'll ask Angela Woolner, who is our communications and outreach director, to give this report.
Thank you again, Chairwoman, Commissioners, Executive Director Palladino. And again, as you just mentioned my name, but I am, for the record, Angela Wellner, Director of Communications and Veteran Outreach. For your review and approval, we present the FY25 to FY29 strategic plan for the Texas Veterans Commission. This report is required by the Texas Government Code and is submitted to the Office of the Governor, Budget and Policy Division, and the Legislative Budget Board. In your folder, you'll see a draft of the strategic plan. In just a moment, I'm going to walk you through the contents of this report if you want to follow along. Now, the purpose of this document is to guide strategic planning for long-term goals and decision-making. It includes our goals, objectives, and strategies with performance measures that analyze the success of our goals. Every other year, we assess the agency and the internal and external factors that impact TVC operations and the customer base we serve: veterans, their spouses, survivors, and all Texas taxpayers. The contents include, first, the title page. Next, a table of contents, the agency mission and philosophy, an external and internal assessment to describe the current factors that impact Texas veterans and the agency, including recent state and federal legislation, a message from the executive director, the agency goals and action plan. Now, this section has been changed. While the goals remain the same, the action plan has been streamlined to better reflect the LBB's template and align with the budget structure. Those goals are to assist veterans with receiving benefits, to fund direct services to veterans, and to administer the Hazelwood Act exemption program. Now, following that is the section dedicated to redundancies and impediments, of which only one was identified. The longest portion of this report, the budget structure, is the next section, which includes the list of measure definitions, including the agency outcome and output measures. The agency is recommending multiple changes, including deleting 2 efficiency measures, editing several claims measures to better capture the data available, moving an employment measure from output to outcomes, and adding a measure for the new Veterans Mental Health Department strategy. Next, after the budget structure, the continued required sections include the TVC's historically underutilized business plan. Then, the agency workforce plan, which discusses the internal makeup of the agency, retention, hiring, and other strategies. Following that is the Workforce Development System Strategic Plan. TVC is one of several state agencies tasked with helping grow the state workforce. Specifically for this report, our charge is to identify and collect industry-based certification data. Next, we include the report on customer service, which measures our client satisfaction rates by strategy. Our overall satisfaction rate remains above 90% for both fiscal years 2022 and 2023. Finally, the report ends with the certification of compliance with cybersecurity training signed by Chairwoman Kerner and Executive Director Palladino. I am available for any questions, and any answers I do not have, I can defer to our Resources Management Director, Chip Osborne, or our Government Relations Officer, Gary Medina.
Thank you, Angela. Any questions on the strategic action plan? I appreciate the extra effort you put in to adjust the format, all of staff, to make it match up with the LBB requirements. So the performance measures and stuff that we're putting in here will then, of course, match what we submit for the LAR, which we will have at the next meeting. Is that correct? Yeah.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Any questions on the strategic action plan? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the FY 2025-2029 TVC strategic plan?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
A second from Commissioner Dale. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? And the motion is approved. Thank you, Angela. Okay, at this time, we will be taking a 10-minute break. Let's return here at 10:40 and we'll continue on with agenda item 6D. Welcome back, everyone. Gave everyone a 5-minute extra breather, so if you appreciate that. Moving on to agenda item 6D. We good over there? Okay. Regarding 2023-2024 Fund for Veteran Assistance Grantees seeking renewal for the grant year 2024 to 2025. And Elaine Zavala, our Fund for Veterans Assistance Director, will give the presentations for the organizations that met the renewal criteria for 23 to 24 RFA. And then we will consider new grant applications in section 6E. And then we will come back to this section after we looked at the new applications and look at anything that did not meet the criteria and see if we'd like to do that as well. So first, we will start with Elaine Zavala with the applications that met the renewal criteria.
Yes, ma'am.
And we'll give us a moment, as I know commissioners, we all have our own files.
Sure.
Make sure we have everything available. And you had sent us a new version the other day, so
Yes.
is that the one you're going to be looking at?
I will be referring to both the PDF that is in your commission binder for 6D. That is a PDF of the spreadsheet that was updated and emailed to you on Monday, May 13th. So you can use either one.
Thank you.
So Director Zavala, are you going to be starting off with a update?
Yes, sir. All right. Is everybody good to go? Any issues opening those documents? We are looking at the renewal spreadsheet.
And specifically the ones that met the 60%.
Yes, ma'am. I have a whole introduction to this.
Okay.
Because it may get a little wordy here. All right. So thank you and good morning, Chairwoman Kerner, Commissioners, Mr. Palladino, and guests. My name is Elaine Zavala for the record, Fund for Veterans Assistance Director. So before I begin presenting this 23-24 Fund for Veterans Assistance grantees that are seeking renewal for the 24-25 grant year, I'd like to turn your attention to the screen. The table that is shown is controlled by our brand new communications coordinator intern that Chip introduced earlier, Joanna Orozco, and the staff here with me at this table, as well as Ileana here. We will be calculating all the motions that will be happening. And just please be patient with us as we continue to update this and make sure that our numbers are accurate. So as shown, the total amount available for the commissioners to award for renewal and recommendations is that number $47.5 million. So starting from the left, the 23-24 renewal table calculates the 17 grants that have met the 23-24 performance and expenditure criteria that totals just over $4 million. To the right of that table, the 24-25 recommended table has the 134 grants that the FEA Advisory Committee recommended to the Commission for award today. That totals almost $33 million. So this table, as it is now, just shows you one scenario to give you the bigger picture of how you might pay this $47.5 million being awarded today. This table will be updated. We will actually switch back to a blank table because nothing has been motioned for award yet. And so in this scenario, you can see that the total grant award would be 151 grants, totaling almost $37 million. That would leave the commission to award $10 million more to go back to any renewals that met one or none of the criteria, and then also going back to the recommended category that the committee did not recommend for your award today. So that gives you some wiggle room to go back and look at those organizations that weren't presented in the preliminary recommendation, okay? So pending any questions, I'd like to begin the presentation for grant renewals.
Any questions on how we're going to approach this? Let's go ahead and get started. Thank
Okay.
you.
So commissioners, refer to that PDF document that we have in your SharePoint or the one that was emailed to you on Monday. I will begin on page 1 of the PDF or on the renewal summary tab on the Excel spreadsheet. This will not be shown on the screen. We just have the tables up here for total amounts. So referring to the table in the upper left corner, there were a total of 74 organizations that operated grant programs during the 23-24 grant year, and this totaled just over $18 million. The grant programs included Veteran County Service Offices, Veteran Treatment Courts, Housing for Texas Heroes grants, Veterans Mental Health grants, and General Assistance grants. These grants began on June 1st, 2023, and are actually set to end next month on June 30th, 2024. These grants presented to you for renewal have not offered to extend their grant. They have kept their option to stay in this renewal track. And these grants are also bound to the renewal criteria that was set forth in the 23-24 request for applications. So in that request for application, it states, to be considered for renewal, grantees are expected to meet 60% annual performance and funding expenditure. So that's 2 criteria right there. They must meet or exceed 60% of serving their number of beneficiaries and actually spending 60% or more of their grant funded total. We calculate this by having a cutoff date at the 8th month of their grant. And so that was at February 28th, 2024. We took all their reports that were submitted, compiled that data, and that is in front of you in this spreadsheet. All of these grants also have no unresolved compliance findings. So that criteria was met by all of them. We have a great staff that works with them to, if there are compliance findings, to settle them and get them on the right track. So therefore, out of 74 grants operating, we're looking now at the table to the right of that one. 17 grants met or exceeded both performance and expenditure criteria with no questions asked. This totals just over $4 million. This is shown in that upper right-hand corner table. So then as we move down, the 2 tables below show a breakdown of grants that met only one of the criteria. The left shows the grant that met only performance, and the right table shows only grants that met expenditures, spending their grant. Because these grantees are bound to the governing documents for the 23-24 grant year, not only for criteria, but also for program requirements, I would like the commission to consider the following motion that I will be asking the commission to consider two motions. One for Housing for Texas Heroes grantees that are renewed for the 24-25 grant year, so that they can operate under the 24-25 request for applications. As you remember, back in August, we changed the request for applications and program requirements, allowing the Housing for Texas Heroes grantees to serve veterans and surviving spouses that are classified as very low or low income. And we are now allowing organizations to spend up to $35,000 per veteran household. This was an increase from $20,000 per project. So with that, that is one motion that I would like the commission to consider for Housing for Texas Heroes grantees that are renewed.
So a little background on this, Commissioner. So the Housing for Texas Heroes grants that were awarded in 23 and 24 had a lower limit on how much they could spend per person. If an application was coming in today for Housing for Texas Heroes, they would be allowed to spend more. So the request that Elaine is making is that when we renew the grants in this category for Housing for Texas Heroes, that we also allow them to follow the new requirements of allowing them to spend more per veteran towards our 2024-2025 requirements. So then she'll do another one for a different section, but that was something we wanted to, we normally don't have to do this previously, but we have, since we made significant changes to the RFA, we really wanted to make sure that their hands weren't tied to the old RFA, that they could expend more according to the new RFA.
Yes.
Okay. So do we want to take that motion now?
Please.
Okay. So this motion is a standalone. We're not renewing a particular grant. We're just allowing them to operate under the new area. So do I hear a motion to allow 23-24 Housing for Texas Heroes grantees that are renewed for the 24-25 grant year to operate under the 24-25 request for application, which includes only serving veterans or surviving spouses who are classified as very low or low income, and allowing project expenditures up to $35,000 per veteran household?
So moved.
Okay, I heard Commissioner Barber and Commissioner Wright. Are you the second? Okay. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Thank you, Elaine. And I think you have another one for better mental health.
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct. So the next motion for the commission's consideration is that 23-24 veterans mental health grantees who are renewed for the 24-25 grant year, that they operate under the new request for applications requirements. And so this one is regarding peer support grantees, that they may conduct retreats, field trips, off-site visits, seminars, and other gatherings within their budget. So currently, right now, they have a limit of, I believe, 25% that they can use, and this would now allow them to use any percent of their budget to do these activities. Secondly, we would also like the commission to ask these veterans mental health grantees that are providing clinical counseling that they be able to submit the mental health outcome performance measure that we have to submit to the legislature. And this is for before treatment starts and after treatment starts. So two things there, allowing them to do the activity and then having clinical counseling grantees submit performance measures for outcomes.
And I do have a question, Elaine.
Yes, ma'am.
What was the name of that form? I don't know if Dr. Bldg is here, but there was a specific form that was called.
Yes. I actually have that open in our, I don't know if Blake's anywhere near a microphone.
He ran away. I see that.
But I can find it right here.
Okay. We'll hold up. We'll just continue on. But I think most of us remembered last year when we went through that.
Yes, it's a mental health assessment that is provided for clinical counseling. Actually, some of our grantees here, when I went to visit them, they were fully on board and had that information readily available.
That's the standard form that they're used to using. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to allow 23-24 veteran mental health grantees that are renewed for the 24-25 grant year to operate under the 24-25 request for application criteria, which includes allowing peer support grantees to conduct retreats, field trips, offsite seminars, and other similar gatherings within their budget, and requiring clinical counseling grantees to submit mental health outcomes before treatment services begin and after treatment services end.
So move.
Okay, I heard Commissioner Hernandez and Commissioner Dale, you second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion is approved. Okay, so now we will go into the specific renewals.
Yes, that
Okay.
is correct.
Sure.
We have a question. Yes.
I do have a question. I wanted to go back to what you were saying before. Did I understand you correctly that of the, I don't know how many it would be, so sorry, but of those that did not meet the criteria, none of them were willing to extend?
They did not request to extend. They would rather be in the renewal grant track.
Okay.
Yes.
And just for history here, typically our first vote is the vote where all the ones that met the criteria, we vote to renew them because that's part of the agreement. And then we come back and typically we'll vote to waive the renewal criteria to allow us to renew ones that didn't fully meet all their performance measures. And because there's might be extenuating circumstances why a particular grantee couldn't meet a renewal. So just to kind of give a little bit of procedural, right now, we're just going to look at the ones that fully met all the performance measures so we could go through that renewal track.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for those motions. Commissioners, now will go through each grant program and name all the 23-24 grants that met or exceeded the performance criteria and expenditure criteria. Again, these grants have no unresolved compliance findings. So first, Veteran County Service Office grants seeking renewal are on page 2 of the PDF or in the purple tab in Excel. Of the 8 Veteran County Service Office grants seeking renewal, 3 counties met the criteria totaling $900,000. These grants are Cass County Financial Assistance, $300,000. Harris County Financial Assistance, $300,000. Zapata County Home Modifications, that's Housing for Texas Heroes, $300,000. That is the Veteran County Service Office grants that met both criteria. Now moving on to page 3 of the PDF, or if in Excel, the orange tab. This tab, or on the page, shows that none of the Veteran Treatment Court grants met or exceeded any of the renewal criteria specified in that RFA we talked about. Therefore, there are no grants to name in this category, and I will move on to Housing for Texas Heroes on page 4. So of the 9 Housing for Texas Heroes grants seeking renewal, 2 organizations met or exceeded the criteria, totaling $320,000. These grants are Austin Habitat for Humanity at $115,000, Rebuilding Together Austin for $205,000, again, totaling $320,000. That concludes the Housing for Texas Heroes grants that met both criteria. Now turn to page 5 for Veterans Mental Health, or click on the yellow tab in Excel. So out of the 10 Veterans Mental Health grants seeking renewal, 1 organization met the criteria totaling $95,000. This was eQuest. They provide clinical counseling at $95,000. Lastly, turn to page 6 for general assistance grants seeking renewal. Out of 41 grants, 11 organizations met the criteria, totaling $2,780,000. These grants are City of El Paso, Transportation Programs and Services for $50,000. City of Fort Worth, financial assistance for $300,000. Empower Inc., employment support, $300,000. Rolling Plains, financial assistance at $300,000. Hale County Meals on Wheels, supportive services, $80,000. Pecan Valley MHMR, financial assistance, $300,000. Goodwill Industries of South Texas, employment support, $115,000. Family Service Center of Houston and Harris County, financial assistance, $300,000. Citizens Development Employment Support, $235,000. CLC Inc., financial assistance, $500,000. And lastly, Lone Star Legal Aid, pro bono legal services at $300,000. This totals again $2,780,000. So therefore, at this time, I would like the commission to consider renewing all 17 grants totaling $4,095,000 as presented. These grants met both criteria as stated in the 23-24 request for applications. Pending any questions, that concludes my presentation on renewals.
Thank you, Elaine. That was really good.
Thank you.
Do I hear a motion to approve those organizations that met the 23-24 renewal criteria for the 24-25 grant year in all categories as presented?
So moved.
Heard Commissioner Dale with the motion, and then Commissioner Wright with the second. Is there any discussion on these renewals? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion is approved. Okay, and then you will be updating the screen so that we could see that we.
Yes.
Next, we're going to move to agenda item 6E. We will come back to the renewals after we look at the recommended grantees. And this as action regarding recommendations for our 24-25 Fund for Veteran Assistance new grants. And Elaine Zavala and Carrie Reyna, who is our chair of our Fund for Veteran Assistance Advisory Committee, will walk through this with us. And we may take several votes on this agenda item. Typically, we break it out by category. So anticipate several motions along the way. Okay. Carrie, I'll turn it over to you. Or Elaine, whoever wants to kick it off.
I will start off. Sorry, Carrie, I got the mic right now. So thank you, Chairwoman Kerner, Commissioners Palladino. Good morning. For the record, Elaine Zavala, Director of Fund for Veterans Assistance. So first off, I will provide an overview of the 24-25, the complete grant cycle before I hand it over to Fund for Veterans Assistance Advisory Committee Chair, Ms. Carrie Reyna. She will be presenting to the commission the committee's recommended grant applications for award. So let's begin. On October 2nd, taking you back to 2023, the 24-25 request for applications, or RFA for short, was posted to the Texas Veterans Commission website and on the Texas Register. The application for this grant opportunity was kept open for 60 days and were due December 4th, 2023 through the FVA electronic grant management system called Flux. FVA staff hosted 2 informational webinars for potential applicants and then placed a recording of those webinars on the TVC website for on-demand access by all potential applicants to view. A total of 180 applications were submitted by the deadline. That was December 4th. And then after that, FVA staff completed eligibility screening. After the eligibility screening was complete, 155 applications were deemed eligible based on program guidelines specified in the RFA. The 155 eligible applications totaled to just over $37 million in requested funds. Each eligible application was assessed by FVA staff for risk factors, and then separately, FVA staff reviewed and scored. 3 different staff members did this using an evaluation rubric that is found in each application. So then in 2024 of January, the FVA staff, we delivered all eligible grant applications and associated materials to the FVA Advisory Committee. The committee members completed their individual funding recommendations and rankings in the TVC grant portal by April 1st, 2024. This information was compiled, tallied, and provided to the committee members for their FVA Advisory Committee recommendation meeting that was held on April 10th, 2024. That meeting is also recorded and may be found on the TVC website for all to view. So now I would like to hand over the mic to FVA Advisory Committee Chair, Ms. Carrie Reyna, to present the committee's recommended grants applications that are brought to you today. Carrie, I'll move this over.
Thanks, Ms. Vala. Chairwoman Kerner, Commissioners, Mr. Palladino. For the record, my name is Carrie Reyna. I'm the chair of the FVA Advisory Committee for this grant cycle. The advisory committee consists of 9 individuals. All 9 members independently reviewed, recommended, and rank ordered applications for the April 10th advisory committee recommendation meeting. At this meeting, there were 8 out of 9 committee members present for discussion and voting. 1 member recused himself, ranking, recommending, and discussing voting on applications for the Housing for Texas Heroes Grant Program. The funding recommendations presented to you today denotes thoughtful consideration on part of each committee member through numerous hours of analysis and discussion. So to further break that down, in January, we met for training, the regulatory training. Then in the February timeframe, we listened to 2 days of presentations. And then we had our recommendation meeting in the April timeframe. The Commission's guidance on funding goals as published in the request for applications, RFAs, in section 1.2 were the guiding principles used by the committee and members for the application rankings, recommendations, and for our committee's vote that resulted in the recommended applications. For the record, the funding goals are as follows: provide support services, resources to veterans, their families, surviving spouses, where they live, to improve the quality of life and strengthen their connections with their communities. 2, responsibly serve TVC grant eligible beneficiaries to meet acute and chronic needs. 3, provide grant funded services, resources that have measurable and positive outcomes. 4, ensure grant-funded projects are available to veterans, dependents, and surviving spouses across the state. Ensure diversity. 5, ensure diversity of grant-funded services are available within geographic regions. 6, fund grant projects that support the overall and specific program goals approved by the Commission. Commissioners, to support this agenda item, please refer to your PDF in your folder or the Excel spreadsheet emailed named 2024-2025 Committee Recommendations. Everybody has this? Okay. On page 1 of the PDF, you will see a summary table showing the committee's recommended applications. Out of the 155 applications considered, the committee is recommending 134 grants, totaling $32,890,000. I will present the recommended applications by grant programs, starting with the Veteran County Service Officers that are listed in page 2 of the PDF. The committee, VCSO, Veterans County Service Officers, the committee recommends all 9 applications totaling $1,755,000 for award. Ms. Zavala will state these grants for the record.
Thank you. Number 1, Willacy County Financial Assistance, $150,000. Hayes County Financial Assistance, $250,000. Number 3, Webb County Transportation Programs, $160,000. Number 4, Liberty County Financial Assistance, $50,000. Number 5, Val Verde County Transportation Programs, $50,000. Number 6, Zapata County Financial Assistance, $200,000. Number 7, Harris County Peer Support Services, $295,000. Number 8, Bear County Commissioners Court Financial Assistance, $300,000. Number 9, Hidalgo County Peer Support Services, $300,000. This totals $1,755,000 for 9 grant applications.
Thank you, Elaine. Commissioners, pending any questions, the recommended Veteran Service County office applications have been presented for your consideration.
Commissioners, any questions on the recommended grants?
Question. On the
Commissioner Barbara.
Hidalgo County, the risks, does that mean they don't have a veteran county service officer?
They actually do have it. His name is Sam Perez. And he actually is chair of the Veteran County Service Officer Advisory Committee here at the Texas Veterans Commission. At the time they were transitioning, I believe. I mean, this was 9 months ago, and I believe Sam is new in this position.
So they have experience.
They did not have experience with peer support services. They have had other grants in the past, such as financial assistance, rent, utility, mortgage, things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Wright.
And to follow up on Commissioner Barber's question, do we have any idea what they're going to do to provide this service that they have no experience with?
Well, I think sometimes, Commissioner Wright, we all don't have experience, but we also have Earl here that is now can do a teach, coach, and mentor.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is Elaine and her staff are more than happy to step up and do a teach, coach, and mentor.
Okay.
I did have a
I-
question.
I have
Sorry.
a-
Oh, Mike, you go.
Commissioner Hernandez.
Yes, I have additional comments. On a county structure, you have these different departments. In this case, we're interested in the Veterans County Service Officer and also the Health Department within a county. So within these services that counties provide, they would have someone that is a certified counselor to provide the services of peer counseling. So I would say, even though they haven't applied before or don't have prior experience, they would have the personnel within the county to provide the services.
Hi, Commissioner Dale.
So just for clarification purposes for me, so I understand. So I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but I want to hear, want to know how this is going to work. So for example, we have the new applications for 2024-25, and we've got, for example, Willacy and Val Verde on here. I also see them on the did not meet criteria on the renewals. How does that interplay with each other, if anything?
So if they are on the renewal track as well as applying for a new application, that means a couple of things. They cannot submit an application or have 2 grants for the same service. So number 1, their services are probably different. We can double check that as well. And not meeting criteria, we haven't gotten to that discussion yet, but some of the staff notes do show some of the updates as far as working with the counties, showing that they're slowly increasing their performance, items like that.
No, I understand. And I just want to make sure, because as we're looking at the new grants, as well as going back to the renewals and the funding portion of it is what I was trying to understand.
Did you want me to look exactly at the 2 counties you just mentioned for clarification?
For clarification, sure. That would help.
Okay, and so can you rename those for me again?
Val Verde and
Willacy. Valverde and Willacy.
And it could be it's different programs. I just didn't know.
So I actually, okay. I see what you're saying. So they are on the VCSO application recommended list right now, but then you saw them in different programs for renewals.
I actually thought they fell under the VCSO.
They do not. I do not have a Willacy or a Valverde for VCSO renewals.
Okay. Oh, no. Okay. No, never mind. I was looking at different criteria on the performance only measures. Okay. Got it.
Any other questions regarding this category? Okay. Let me get my notes here. Do I hear a motion to approve the 24-25 Veteran County Service Officer grant applications that were recommended by the FVA Advisory Committee?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? And motion is approved. Okay, and you'll update the screen while we move on to the next category, which is Veteran Treatment Court.
On page 3 and 4 of the PDF are the committee's funding recommendations for the 2024-2025 Veteran Treatment Court applications. The committee recommends all 14 applications totaling $3,380,000 for award. Ms. Zavala will state these grants for the record.
Number 1, Tarrant County, $200,000. Number 2, Travis County, $50,000. Number 3, Collin County, $400,000. Number 4, Dallas County, $300,000. Number 5, Galveston County, $270,000. Number 6, Nueces County, $200,000. Number 7, City of Dallas, $50,000. Number 8, Montgomery County, $255,000. Number 9, Webb County, $305,000. Number 10, Bexar County Commissioners Court, $250,000. Number 11, Bexar County Misdemeanor Veteran Treatment Court, $300,000. Number 12, Hayes County, $350,000. Number 13, Potter County, $240,000. Number 14, Comal County, $210,000, totaling $3,380,000 for a total of 14 grant applications.
Commissioners, pending any questions, the recommended treatment court applications have been presented for your consideration.
Thank you, Carrie. Any questions on this recommended applications in this category? Commissioner Wright.
Just a clarification for me. Does anybody recall what the target number was for this particular category before the recommendations were voted on?
Not, what does that mean?
So we're at 3.38 million. Were we at 4 or were we at 3.5? I'm just curious. If anybody recalls, if not, it's not
relevant.
I do not believe we gave financial goals per category to the committee.
Oh, okay.
Does it answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the 24-25 Veteran Treatment Court grant applications that were recommended by the FVA Advisory Committee?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I heard from Commissioner Dale. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. And motion is approved. We'll move on to the next category, which is Housing for Texas Heroes.
The committee's funding recommendations for the 2024-2025 Housing for Texas Heroes applications are listed on page 5. Out of the 19 Housing for Texas Heroes application, the committee recommends 16 grants totaling $5,850,000 for award. Ms. Zavala will state these grants for the record.
1, Meals on Wheels and More, 500,000. 2, Rolling Plains Management Corporation, 300,000. 3, Fort Hood Area Habitat for Humanity, 250,000. 4, Meals on Wheels of Tarrant County, 265,000. 5, Golden Crescent Habitat for Humanity, 300,000. 6, Panhandle Community Services, 500,000. 7, Northeast Texas Habitat for Humanity, 230,000. 8, Habitat for Humanity Smith County, 250,000. 9, Adults and Youth United Development Association, 495,000. Central Texas Opportunities, Inc., 495,000. 11, Salvation Army Waco, 160,000. 12, Easter Seals Central Texas, 500,000. 13, Meals on Wheels San Antonio, $305,000. 14, Operation Finally Home, 500,000. 15, City of Laredo, 300,000. 16, Golden Crescent Habitat for Humanity, 500,000, totaling $5,850,000.
Commissioners, pending any questions or the recommended Housing for Texas Heroes applications have been presented for your consideration.
Thank you, Carrie. Any questions on the recommendations in this category? Do I hear a motion to approve the 24-25 Housing for Texas Heroes grant applications that were recommended by the FVA Advisory Committee?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? Motion is approved. Moving on to the veteran mental health category.
The committee's funding recommendations for the veteran mental health applications are listed on pages 8 through 11 of the PDF. As you know, Governor Abbott in Texas legislature approved House Bill 2951, creating the Veteran Service Dog Program within our mental health grant program. This grant category aims to help veterans experience post-traumatic stress, traumatic brain injury, or military sexual trauma by providing a service dog at no cost. Therefore, the committee recommends all 4 service dog applications that were submitted for this pilot program, totaling $985,000. Ms. Zavala will state these grants for the record.
Thank you, Carrie. Canine for Warriors, 130,000. Canine Companions for Independence, 100,000. Patriot Paws Service Dogs, 500,000. Austin Dog Alliance, 255,000, totaling 4 applications, 985,000.
Commissioners, pending any questions, the recommended service dog applications have been presented for your consideration.
Thank you, Carrie. Do we want to do a motion separately or do you just want to do the whole category? Commissioners, do you have a preference? I think we'll just continue on with the category and we'll vote everything in this category together.
All right, thank you. Continuing with veterans mental health applications, the committee recommends 24 out of 29 applications for the award totaling $5,535,000. Ms. Zavala will state these grants for the record.
1, Samaritan Center for Counseling and Pastoral Care, Clinical Counseling, 500,000. 2, Baylor Research Institute, Clinical Counseling, 500,000. 3, Family Endeavors, Clinical Counseling, 500,000. Senecor Foundation, Clinical Counseling, 340,000. 5, West Texas Counseling and Guidance, Clinical Counseling, 500,000. 6, Collin County, Clinical Counseling, 270,000. 7, Refuge Services, Inc., Clinical Counseling, 200,000. 8, Brazos County, Clinical Counseling, $5,000. 9, Project Amistad, Clinical Counseling, $100,000. 10, Concho Valley Center for Human Advancement, Peer Support Services, $95,000. 11, Writing Unlimited Inc., Clinical Counseling, $135,000. 12, Castle Cares Community Ministries, Clinical Counseling, $150,000. 13, Easter Seals of Greater Houston, Clinical Counseling, $300,000. Heart of Texas Region Mental Health Mental Retardation Center, Clinical Counseling, $250,000. 15, Henry's Home Horse and Human Sanctuary, Peer Support Services, $50,000. 16, Family Service Center of Galveston County, Clinical Counseling, $280,000. 17, Caritas of Austin, Peer Support Services, $65,000. 18, Savine Valley Regional MHMR Center, Peer Support Services, $145,000. 19, Grace After Fire, Peer Support Service, $150,000. 20, Bear County Misdemeanor Veterans Treatment Court, Peer Support Services, $300,000. 21, Outdoor Association for True Heroes, Peer Support Services, $150,000. 22, Austin Travis County MHMR, Clinical Counseling, $340,000. 23, Outsiders Anonymous, Peer Support Services, $110,000. 24, Marriage Management Consultants, Peer Support Services, $100,000, totaling 24 applications at $5,535,000.
Commissioners, pending any questions, the recommended veterans mental health applications have been presented for your consideration.
Thank you, Carrie. Any questions on this category? Commissioner Wright?
Just one. The service dog category is just under $1 million, and the total for mental health is $5,335,000. Are those two figures separate or together?
Ms. Zavala, is the service dog category and the veterans mental health at $5.5 million, is that all one figure? No, they're two.
There's two. So $5,535,000 is just for the peer services and clinical counseling. Then separately, $985,000 is for the service dog program. At $985,000, I want to remind the commission that the service dog was presented to you separately because the legislature provided us $1 million specifically for that grant category. The $15,000, if not awarded, will be moved forward to the next grant year and specifically used again for the service dog category.
Okay, thank you for that.
Any other questions?
Just one quick comment. I'm not sure your numbers are lining up with the entities on the OneDrive.
She sent out a new version the other day, so she might be reading off of that one.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at the OneDrive, so no worries.
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Dale had one first, and then we'll go to you, Commissioner Hernandez. Good.
I was hoping somebody could give me an explanation on, for the recommended agencies with an unsatisfactory rating, what stood out or what was the reasoning to keep them on recommended versus, not recommending?
Sure. There's a couple of reasons here. Number one, we all went back to our homes and individually looked at these applications as 9 individuals, right? Because we can't talk about it again until we get here. And of course, we all came with different thoughts and opinions on how it was all ranked and how we ranked it. But after discussion, in some cases very spirited discussion, and then going back over the funding goals that and with, as previously stated, Ms. Zavala and her staff will make whole any applicant that is recommended that may be in the unsat or marginal category. And then we arrived at our conclusions and recommended.
Okay, so can we talk specifically? So for example, Austin Dog Alliance.
Just a minute, please.
What line is that?
Row 7 in your document.
And Vice Chair, if I may step in for the veteran service dog category, this is a brand new program, correct? And so even our program requirements, all we did was copy the bill language and put that and set that as our program requirements. So I would allow some grace with the scoring of the application, as we have met with all of these service dog potential applicants to let them know that, hey, you know, we are learning from you all, you are learning our grant process. And so we ask for patience and a little bit of grace when coming to apply for grant awards. So I would ask the commission do the same because this is a new grant program. Gary?
I concur with what you said. I mean, it's a pilot program. We don't know what we don't know. And we felt as a committee that we should approve them or recommend them, correction.
And just to be clear, if we did not, that money couldn't be used for any other grant because it could only be used for service dogs.
Okay.
Commissioner Hernandez, I know you had a question.
I have a question on Outdoor Association for True Heroes. This is a nonprofit organization, and in the risk comments of this organization, it states that board members are also employees of the organization, and that would be considered a conflict of interest. So why would you consider that?
Well, again, Commissioner, after discussing this application singularly, we had the votes to pass it on, recommend it.
If I may, Madam Chairwoman, Mike, we've run into this in the past. Some of these smaller nonprofits that mom and pop shops, husband and wives or whatever, they have multiple roles. So we've kind of come up against this before, and due to the small size of the grant and then due to the fact that it's a reimbursement grant and they'll go through the reconciliation period, these are types of things for a young organization that's doing what they're doing. We've kind of, agreed with the recommendations of the committee on things like that. That makes sense.
Thank you, Commissioner Barber. Does that answer your question, Commissioner Hernandez?
Just to follow up, I don't believe that the commission would approve a conflict of interest on any organization because it's a violation of code. So hearing the explanation from Commissioner Barber, I still do not believe that conflict of interest should be in our interest to approve.
And Commissioner Hernandez, the application as set forth right now is what they proposed, right? Their board member would be on the budget. Obviously, that is not allowed. When we work with these organizations to create their revisions for the application, that will be part of a discussion where we tell them that's not allowed. We'd have to remove that salaried position out of our budget that cannot be paid for by TVC and work with them to correct that.
They're one of those teach, coach, and mentor type groups that I think we wanted to start reaching out to bring more into the fold to increase our veterans served organizations. So
absolutely correct. Irv and I, we had a one-on-one webinar with all four organizations to discuss with them, hey, is there anything that we don't know that you'd like to tell us. And specifically, they went through their individual programs with specific questions. That led to more one-on-one meetings with them. And so this is a category that we are taking on as priority and really working with them.
And so, Elaine, I think Commissioner Hernandez's question was regarding one in the peer support services, not the service dog category. But I think to add on to what Commissioner Barber said, there are many applications that are eligible and recommended every year that have unallowable expenses in their original request. And the staff takes that into account when they do their negotiations after we approve the grant. When they write the contract with them, they specifically state we will not reimburse unallowable. And so it's fairly common. The only problem is when the vast majority of their requests are unallowable, then that's probably not going to be a recommended grant. Is that correct, Elaine?
That is correct.
Okay.
I believe it's more than 40% of their application. If that must be redone, it's 40 to 60 that there's that line where basically their whole budget has to be redone if more than half is unallowable. That would not work out very well because that is the program that they proposed, and then we'd have to basically wipe it out.
Okay. And I do apologize to Commissioner Dale. She wasn't done with her original question before I moved on. So let's go back. I apologize.
That's okay. And the second one I saw on the recommended versus the as unsatisfactory, is kind of wanting to get some specifics on 24, the marriage management consultants. What specifically did you look at that, put them above the line of not recommended?
Well, honestly, we have seen many applications from them, but what they absolutely fall in, and we were able to see that within the application, is number 3 on your funding goals. Provide grant services and resources that are measurable and positive outcomes. And within their program, they have a lot of positive outcomes. And that also goes then with number 1, which not only does it provide support to the veteran, but it provides support to the family. And sometimes when they write these grants, like Elaine has stated, it's just inherent with this that there will be a more clearer written contract if approved.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? With that, thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Elaine, for answering those questions. Do I hear a motion to approve the 24-25 Veteran Mental Health Grant that were recommended by the FVA Advisory Committee? This includes both the service dog and the other peer services clinical counseling section.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, I can't tell who went
That's
first.
fine. That's
Okay, I'll give it to Commissioner Wright.
Either way.
Any further discussion? Okay, Commissioner Wright.
To a larger point that will apply to all the grant processes, and I apologize. I was sitting in Carrie's seat last year, and I did a poor job of explaining this. But we have 2 individuals in front of us. We have Ms. Reyna and we have Ms. Zavala. They have 2 very distinctly different jobs. So, and my favorite example, and this is from an old from an old FVA member, gerbils as service animals. Now that sounds absolutely absurd, but they could write the best grant in the world and they come in commendable. So that is Ms. Zavala's job, and her staff is to grade that grant regardless of how it fits into the report that we do every year that we break down by region, where the regions tell us, and this is one of the things, and I'm not trying to suck up, but I want to commend Mr. Palladino and his staff for constantly evolving all of our processes, but specifically this one. So we've actually now started. So when I first started 8 years ago, and I've had the honor of working with Miss Verena for 8 years, and it has been a true pleasure. See how I kind of threw that in there? But we've evolved our process from a statewide process, and we are now targeting the regions of the state and trying to serve what they say their needs are in their orders. So on a little bit off on a tangent. Anyway, the point is back to my favorite example of gerbils as service animals, and it's a perfect grant and it's commendable. That's Ms. Zavala's job. It's Raina's job and her committee is to say, okay, how does this fit the needs of our veterans in these different regions? And I think Commissioner Hale has picked a perfect example of an unsatisfactory grant request. Well, that doesn't mean they're not providing great service. They just don't have a good admin department. And to tell the story of another Marine to try to make this make sense, Fred Smith, who founded FedEx, received a B- on his paper about and it was the thesis of his master's program. He got a B- on it. And the only reason it did well is because it's really well written, but it's a terrible idea is what they told him. Now, the irony of that, it was an incredible idea and he wrote it well. The point that I'm driving at with this is the job of the 9 members of the committee who put combined hundreds of hours every year into figuring out what is best going to serve our veterans. And Bob and his wife, and I only know it because they used to present every year. Wonderful people. I've never talked to them outside of a FVA meeting, but they do real work. As you hit it on the head. You nailed that. And it becomes an example. And I've got the same question because I'm looking at it. And I almost said, make sure Ms. Verena knows every one of these unset grants has to be justified to a degree because we're going to give them more scrutiny because they're kind of telling us we're struggling with a heavy process, which is what we have. And so my thanks to the committee for putting in that kind of work. And hopefully, basically what I'm trying to say in a nutshell is 2 different jobs that are related, but they don't overlap.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments or discussion on the motion? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those, missed you. All those opposed, say nay. Motion is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. And commissioners, I need to make a correction for the minutes and for the record. Back in the Housing for Texas Heroes list, I mentioned Golden Crescent Habitat for Humanity twice. And the correction needs to be that Garland Area Habitat for Humanity is the grant number 16 for $500,000. That's a typo in my script as well as in your document as well.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. Moving on to the general assistance grants category.
Commissioners, starting on page 12 of the PDF, the committee recommends 67 out of 77 general assistant applications for an award totaling $15,385,000. Ms. Zavala, will you state these grants for the record?
Correct. We have 1, Goodwill Industries, Fort Worth, employment support, $50,000. Community Council of South Central Texas, financial assistance, $300,000. 3, the Salvation Army, Corpus Christi, financial assistance, $300,000. 4, Hidalgo County, financial assistance, $300,000. 5, Project Amistad, financial assistance, $300,000. 6, Grace After Fire, financial assistance, $200,000. 7, Honor Veterans Now, support services, $500,000. 8, Fort Bend County, financial assistance, $300,000. 9, Big Brothers support services, $20,000. Families in Crisis Incorporated, financial assistance, 300,000. 11, San Antonio Metropolitan Ministry, financial assistance, 300,000. The Salvation Army El Paso, financial assistance, 250,000. 13, the Salvation Army San Antonio, financial assistance, 300,000. 14, Easter Seals of Greater Houston, financial assistance, 150,000. 15, Caritas of Waco, financial assistance, 200,000. 16, Panhandle Community Services, financial assistance, 300,000. 17, Houston Area Urban League Support Services, 500,000. 18, the Salvation Army Amarillo Homeless Support, 105,000. 19, Caritas of Austin, financial assistance, 125,000. 20, Tropical Texas Behavioral Health, financial assistance, 300,000. 21, Goodwill Industries of Central Texas, financial assistance, 300,000. 22, Volunteers of America Texas Incorporated, financial assistance, 295,000. 23, Meals on Wheels Support Services, 300,000. 24, the Salvation Army Waco, financial assistance, 250,000. 25, USA Cares, financial assistance, 500,000. 26, Foundation Communities, financial assistance, 100,000. 27, Trinity County, financial assistance, 180,000. 28, the Salvation Army Lufkin, financial assistance, 100,000. 29, Catholic Charities of Central Texas, financial assistance, 300,000. Meals on Wheels of Tarrant County Support Services, 300,000. 31, Adult and Youth United Development Association, financial assistance, 190,000. 32, Communities and Schools of Greater Central Texas Support Services, 300,000. 33, United Way of Johnson County Homeless Support, 300,000. 34, United Way of Denton County Financial Assistance, 300,000. 35, American GI Forum National Veterans Outreach Program Homeless Support for 500,000. 36, Central Texas Council of Governments, financial assistance, 300,000. 37, Interfaith Ministries for Greater Houston, support services, 300,000. 38, Katy Christian Ministries, financial assistance, 230,000. 39, Meals on Wheels San Antonio, support services, 300,000. Catholic Charities Archdiocese of San Antonio, financial assistance, 300,000. Bring Everyone in the Zone, financial assistance, 200,000. 42, Salvation Army Grayson County, financial assistance, 100,000. 43, Project Men Support Services, 300,000. 44, Making Dreams Real Homeless Support, 95,000. Family Endeavors Financial Assistance, 500,000. 46, West Central Texas Regional Foundation Financial Assistance, 300,000. 47, Goodwill Industries of Houston Employment Support, 190,000. 48, Phoenix Mobility Rising Financial Assistance, 150,000. Wheelchairs for Warriors Support Services, 150,000. 50, Texoma Area Paratransit System Transportation Programs, 40,000. 51, Burnett County Transportation Programs, 75,000. 52, Deep East Texas Council of Governments Financial Assistance, 70,000. 53, Nueces County Financial Assistance, 150,000. 54, San Antonio Food Bank Support Services, 300,000. 55, Transition Skills Training Incorporated for Small Business Support, 50,000. Family Pathfinders of Tarrant County Support Services, 125,000. 57, Combined Arms Homeless Support, 90,000. 58, Next Step Employment Support, 80,000. 59, Hope for the Warriors Financial Assistance, 215,000. 60, TBI Warrior Foundation Employment Support, 150,000. 61, After Military Service Financial Assistance, 150,000. 62, Stephen Siller Tunnel to Towers Foundation Homeless Support, 300,000. 63, Heroes Night Out Financial Assistance, 150,000. Veteran Center of North Texas Financial Assistance, 300,000. 65, Rise Resource Information Support and Empowerment Transportation Programs, 145,000. 66, Brazos County Employment Support, 5,000. 67, the Salvation Army Midland Homeless Support, 260,000, totaling 67 grant applications at 15,385,000. And Secretary Barber, I do see what you're saying with the list. It looks like some of the rankings had moved some of the applications within that list.
Yes.
Keeping track when we went out.
Me too.
I
could not follow.
comparing both. And I see exactly what you're talking about. The totals and the numbers of grant applications are the same. And we will refer now to your document since I'm done with this portion of the script when you have questions.
Thank you, Elaine. I am glad it was not just me. Okay. Okay.
Okay, commissioners, pending any questions, the recommended general assistance applications have been presented for your consideration.
Thank you, Carrie. Commissioners, does anyone have any questions on the recommended grants? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve the 2024-2025 General Assistant Grant applications that were recommended by the FVA Advisory Committee?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. So congratulations. Thank you very much, committee, for all your recommendations you made. We are going to go back now to the renewal section. And Joanna, I think, are you running that, Joanna? Thank you. You're doing a good job. Okay. So this should be up to date on the screen now. So you'll see about how much the remaining balance is. I'm sorry. I had promised I would say, Joanna, show me the money. Okay. So I sorry. Okay. Apologize. I missed my cue. Okay. So now we're going back to the renewal section. For us to consider renewing grant organizations that did not meet the specified renewal criteria, the commission will need to waive the provision of the 23-24 RFA that specifies that requirement. We do this normally every year. The commission may, in its sole discretion, exercise the option to renew the grant for one additional year and to be considered, grantees are expected to meet 60% of the annual performance and funding expenditures by the end of February, which is the 8th month of the grant period, and have no unresolved compliance findings. And so do I hear a motion to waive that renewal criteria listed in the 23-24 request for applications to enable the commission to renew additional grants that did not meet that renewal criteria?
So moved.
Okay, I hear a motion from Commissioner Dale and a second by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion is approved. So at this point, we're going to go back, and commissioners, I ask you to open up your renewal Excel spreadsheets or whatever that we have. And I will start at the Veteran County Service Officer category, and I will take individual motions from commissioners specifically requesting renewal from any particular grant. You can put in your motion multiple requests, and you could also put in a different amount for grant award than the original one if you want to. So I will set the example. So for instance, in the 24-25 RFA and in, I think, our rule, we remove the requirement for 60% of the expenditures. We had only kept it at 60% of the performance. So in your document, you'll see the grantees that met the current renewal requirements, but that did not meet last year's renewal requirements. And maybe we could start there because that might be an easy way to start. But I could also take any motion for any grant in the Veteran County Service category. So I will start with a motion just to kick us off. I move to renew the Veteran County Service Officer grant for Cameron County for financial assistance of $120,000.
So moved.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Oh,
Jump the gun.
I moved it, so you can
you
second
moved
it.
Second.
Okay. And and then typically, if you're the one making the motion, I'll call upon you to explain why. And so my explanation on why I think this one should be renewed is it did meet, it was at 59%. It was very close to the performance standard, and our performance standard is 60%. So that's why I recommend that one to be renewed. Any other discussion on this topic? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Getting tired up here. Sorry. Motion is approved. So we just approved Cameron County financial assistance for 120,000 renewal. Okay. And then we'll just add it to the screen and then continue on. Is there any other commissioners who would like to have a motion for renewal of any grantees in this category?
I'd like to make a motion to renew Williamson County Veteran County Service Officer for their $210,000.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Dale?
Yeah. This organization, there's a huge amount of veterans in Williamson County. They've got Sun City. They are next to Bell County, where a lot of folks are coming out Fort Cavazos. Their staff has been pretty strong in the past, and I know they had some staffing changes this year. So I'd hate to lose that organization and that assistance to the veterans in the county.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes. Any other recommendations? We can come back at the very end if we feel like we want to. I'm just doing this as just a way to organize.
And are we updated on the screen?
Yes. So now, before we started this discussion, there was only 3 renewals in the VCSO category. Now we're at 5. So that has been updated as we have been talking. Okay. And I do want to remind commissioners that if you feel there's still value in that particular grant being used for the next year, but maybe not at the same award amount, that is also an option as well. Okay. So we can come back to that category. Let's just jump to the Veterans Treatment Court. Any commissioner would like to consider any other grants for renewal in the Veteran Treatment Court category?
Let's see.
I'd like to just speak to Veterans Treatment Court as a whole. I know there's a lot of, I'm looking at performance, it ranges all over the place, but as to the treatment courts go, it's a huge factor for those veterans that are going through the process to be able to get a second chance. And I know that the treatment courts are struggling a little bit, but they're struggling along with the regular court docket as well. There was a huge amount of disturbance during the COVID years and then getting back online and so forth and getting people through the program. And so, our courts in general in Texas did a real good job about trying to keep up and running through COVID, but some things are just difficult to do that way. So I actually would move to renew all of our veteran treatment courts that, did not meet the criteria or met only a certain criteria. And, I'd urge our staff to do as much as we can to help them.
Second.
So we'll have to actually make a very specific motion because, yeah. So because we'll need to name the particular organization and the award amount. So whoever wants to make that motion, I'm ready to hear it.
I make a motion to approve Missouri County Veterans Court Treatment Program for $75,000 and Ellis County Veterans Treatment Court for $110,000.
Okay. Anyone else? Just those two? There's 4 of them.
Oh, we have 4. Okay. Wow.
There's
I
6.
just.
Oh, there's
confused that
6?
one.
Excuse me.
But we
don't
already
have 6.
There's 6.
Oh, there's 6 because we did not approve any veteran courts renewals because none of them.
I can read them. Oh, actually, you'll have to make the motion.
Yes, we'll make
Yeah.
the motion. Do we want to start again with your motion?
My motion is to approve Williamson County Veteran Treatment Court for 200. Well, that one's already, wait a minute, where are we starting from?
So-
Williamson County, we already approved that one.
We have
So we're-
approved none.
We haven't approved none of the VTCs for Williamson County.
That was the County Veteran Service.
Oh, okay, my bad. All right, here we go. On the grantees that did not make criteria, McLennan County, a Veterans Treatment Court for $100,000, Williamson County, $210,000, Brazoria County, $75,000, Ellis County for $110,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Can I make a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Okay, I move to amend your motion to also include the Guadalupe County Veteran Treatment Court for $100,000 and El Paso County Veteran Treatment Court for $300,000. I did
Second.
not bring my glasses. So sorry.
The El Paso treatment court was already approved before.
We had not renewed any of the veteran treatment courts during the last.
I was behind too, Mike. I apologize.
Okay. So if you look on the screen, we did not renew any veteran treatment courts in our previous motions. Okay. Did I have a second to my amendment?
Second.
Okay. Second by Commissioner Dale. I agree with Commissioner Dale on, we want to give the veteran treatment court, the benefit of the doubt here. Again, this one's a little bit different is they can't, while they give the number of veterans they anticipate supporting, they can't guess how many people will be coming through the judicial system in the next year. So yeah, I do find sometimes the performance measures are difficult to use as part of the renewal for the VTCs. And I'd rather give them the opportunity to operate than not. So that's the reason I support renewing all of the VTC grants. Commissioner Wright.
So first, I absolutely believe in the Veteran Treatment Court program, and I have stated that in front of this body in the past. Having said that, and this goes to my question earlier about nobody wanting to extend, because a couple of these have the ability, if they were to extend, they still haven't spent anywhere near the money they were initially allotted to give them an opportunity to catch up. And it may be more just a style question of how we do things. And that may be where I'm trying to understand that part of the process a little better.
Can we pause that question? Let's make a vote on the amendment and on the main motion. And then if with everyone's permission, let's talk a little bit about extension, just so we all understand. Okay, so the motion on the table right now is to amend the original motion and add Guadalupe and El Paso to Commissioner Barber's motion.
I seconded that.
And we seconded, so we need to vote.
Correct.
So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? Okay. So the motion is approved. So now we have the main motion on the table, which is essentially to renew all of the veteran treatment court grants for their amount for 24 to 25, which were previously stated. Any discussion on that particular motion? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? The motion passes. Okay, so with everybody's agreement, do we have a moment? Let's talk a little bit about extensions versus renewals, because I think that would be good education for us as we continue. So Elaine?
So all grants that are awarded have the opportunity to request up to 3 amendments to their grant. That includes scope, that includes grant period timeline, AKA extension, as well as moving funds around within their budget. So extensions are requested through an amendment process, and that is allowed up to March 31st of every single year. That is when we like to request that all amendments are in, because that takes a little bit to go through the approval process, making sure that all the information is correct in our flux system and that it is passed through up to Mr. Palladino's approval and then back down to the organization for amending their application. So at this time, we did not have any applications request an amendment for extension. And what that would do, it's a 6-month extension that we allow, and we like to stick to that 6 month. Because if we go any further than 6 months, that poses an issue with our finance department as far as grant year versus fiscal year and appropriation year. And I don't want to get into those details unless I'll have Stephanie come up and explain that. But it is recommended only a 6-month extension when an organization requests for that time frame.
Any other questions on that topic? Okay. So let's move to Housing for Texas Heroes.
I'm sorry. I
Okay,
apologize.
let's-
I do have one more question.
Okay.
So the money that hasn't been spent, where does it go?
Elaine?
They're getting a new grant request.
Correct. That money is part of that de-obligation that Stephanie, our CFO, mentioned. That money comes back into our FVA pile and then put back into grant renewals and recommendations. So I believe that we will use that funding that will come back from these VTCs. That money will increase our potential for grant funding for the 25-26 bowl.
Thank you. This is one of the few areas where we're allowed to roll over the amount to the next year. Okay. Any other questions on the process? Okay. Let's move on to Housing for Texas Heroes renewals. Just to guide the conversation, there was one grantee that met the performance requirement, but not the expenditure requirement. So, which is the current requirement for renewal. So wanted to point that out. Any commissioner want to make a motion in this category?
I'll make a motion to approve renewal for Rebuilding Together Greater Houston
For how much?
for $500,000.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, Commissioner Wright? You don't have to if you don't want to.
They've hit their performance number, and honestly, it doesn't bother me that they've gone well under their expenditure number. That means they're efficient. And since, to my previous question, since the money just rolls back into the pool, it gives them that opportunity to continue their mission.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Any other motions in this category? We'll move on to veteran mental health. There are 3 grantees that requested renewal that met the performance requirements, but did not meet the expenditure requirements. Does any commissioner want to make any motions for renewal in this category?
I'd like to renew the mental health organizations that met the performance, and they significantly met their performance goals of Pecan Valley MHMR at 300,000, Jake E's Writing Roundup at 135,000, Tropical Texas Behavior Health at 500,000 for their renewals.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Any other motions in this category? Okay, let's move over to the general assistance renewal category. There were 12 grantees that met the performance renewal requirement, but not the expenditure. Any commissioner would like to make a motion in this category for a renewal? It's a long one if you want to do it.
It is a long one. I can do it. So I'd like to renew those who have met their performance goals, and they are all performance only has been above 60% up to 101% on these. So I'll start with the first one. Child Crisis Center of El Paso, 197,000. Alamo Area Council of Governments at 300,000. Central Texas Opportunities at 300,000. Austin Travis County MHMR Center doing business as Integral Healthcare at 260. YWCA El Paso Del Norte Region at 300,000. United Way of Tarrant County at 275,000. Community Action Corporation of South Texas at 300,000. Concho Valley Community Action Agency at 300,000. Bandera County Committee on Aging, Inc. at 300,000. United States Veterans Initiative at 300,000. Impact a Hero at 145,000. Lubbock Regional MHMR Center, 255,000 for renewal.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? Motion passes. Any other motions in this category?
Commissioner.
Yes, Commissioner Wright.
I would like to nominate two. Bear with me, I had them and I just lost them. The Texas National Guard Family Support Foundation and the Homeless Veteran Services of Dallas. And in the notes, you will notice the first one is at 81% performance. The second one is well over 100.
Where are you?
Where? I'm looking. Where are you looking?
The Homeless Veterans Services of Dallas?
Is at the very bottom.
And you're saying, what are you saying their numbers are?
Come all the way over to the notes. Their performance is now over $100,000, and it seems the two had the same problem. They weren't putting their information in the flux system correctly.
Gotcha. So, Commissioner Wright, I think I understand your motion. Can you specify the organization and the dollar amount?
Oh, sorry. Texas National Guard Family Support Foundation, financial assistance for $300,000, and Homeless Veteran Services of Dallas referral services for $100,000.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And would you like to add anything to your discussion? Okay. Any other comments for discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Any other motions in this category? Any other, going back to any renewal category, does any commissioners want to renew anything that we have maybe previously looked at? I do remind everyone to take a look at the funding opportunity on the screen. We currently, based off of our decisions, have funded 42 million, which is, I will remind everyone, more than we've ever funded anything before in any previous year. 42,350,000. There is still some opportunity if we want to go back into the unrecommended grantee categories. So just wanted to share this with you. And then when we are done with the non-recommended grantee categories, I will still give us another opportunity to look at anything that we want to before we close out this category. Okay, so now let's move back to the new grantees that were not recommended originally by the committee. And I'll give everyone a moment to find their paperwork. So really, there's three categories that meet this criteria. It's Housing for Texas Heroes, Veteran Mental Health, and General Assistance, because we did fund all of the VCSO and all the VTC were recommended. So there isn't anything in those categories to look at. We have Housing for Texas Heroes, Veteran Mental Health, and General Assistance. Let's start at Housing for Texas Heroes. Do I have a nomination or a motion for any of these for renewal? I move to renew Concho Valley Community Action Agency for 500,000, to approve the application for Concho Valley Community Action Agency for $500,000 in the Housing for Texas Heroes category. Do I have a second?
Second.
They have a marginal application, and I feel like it is a worthy grantee to award to. So that's my reasoning. Anyone have any other question? Okay.
What was the amount?
500,000.
Okay.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Anything else in the Housing for Texas Heroes category? Moving on to Veteran Mental Health. There are 5 for consideration. Any recommendations in this category? If not, we can move on. Okay, I am also willing to consider anything in the general assistance category at this time as well. I would like to make a motion to approve the application for Houston Volunteer Lawyers for pro bono legal services for $200,000.
Second.
Okay. Reasoning. We had no other application for pro bono legal services at all that year, except for this one. And it did have a marginal application quality grading. So I feel like we should fund this service category, which was not funded by anything else in this year. Plus, I'm on the Texas Access to Justice Commission, and I feel like we should give access to justice for veterans. So, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes.
Madam Chairwoman, may I?
Yes,
Can we please go back to the veteran mental health application side, please?
absolutely.
Is everybody there?
I'm there.
I'd like to make a recommendation for American Odyssey Sailing Foundation, Pier Sports Services, $400,000.
Is there a second? I'll second for the purpose of discussion. Commissioner Barber.
Sure. I heard their pitch and I've seen the founder's Navy doc story about attempting to commit suicide. And I think this is one of those. And then he took that experience and he started this sailing foundation. And I've seen some of the results, and it's a small grant. It's kind of one of those that we want to teach, coach, and mentor. And it's a great opportunity to bring more into the fold.
Would this be one of the ones that is essentially now allowable because it is adventure therapy, if you will?
Correct.
Okay, which wasn't allowed 100% previously. It does mention that the application would require significant rewrite and work with the staff. I trust they're up to the task if need be.
They are. Look at them.
Any other discussion or comments on that motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. And commissioners, you could always look up and look at a dollar amount at any time. At this time, I will take any motion in any category for renewal and or new grants. We still have 3.5. Don't say we have to spend it all, but I will point out we have spent nearly $44 million, which is well more than we've ever granted before. And I feel like we've covered a lot of our service categories. So anyone else?
I have a question. This is more than twice from Miss Rain and I's first year, more than twice we were able to award. So I think that is absolutely outstanding. But this may go back to Miss Robinson's comments before. Am I correct to understand there are some things that may be at play that next year, the year after, we might not have as much money to award? Sorry to kind of go off in another direction, but I think it's important right now. Not that I don't love spending money, especially when it's not money.
Hi. So as I stated previously, the amount that we provided is heavily reliant on estimates of what we're going to generate in revenue this year. So as of today, all we can really state is that lottery estimates are typically have been steady for the last couple of years, which equates to about 26 million.
Yeah.
So without the unknowns of the deobligations that will occur this year, you would, as of today, we would only safely be able to say around 26 million for the renewals and the new RFA.
Okay.
And so I have a follow-on question related. So historically, and now I'm putting you to the test, historically, how much have we had in deobligations annually?
So prior to this last previous year, it was between 11 and 12 million. And this year it was much greater only because the last two previous cycles we awarded more. So there was also an increase in deobligations, and also we reviewed the fund balance and had some carry forward from previous years that we could bring forward.
So historically, we count on about 30 million in actual new revenue and about 10 million in deobligations. So about 40 million is normally what we have up to work with, but still keeping our reserves at 3 million.
Correct. The 42 million would also include expenses, overhead expenses that have been about 1.6 million.
Okay. And then also looking kind of historically, even looking at the renewals, I mean, we had $18 million of grants that could have been renewed, but we only renewed 10 million of them. So that's not even counting the ones that we don't renew. Like we can't assume that all of the new grants would all be renewed next year as well. They don't meet the criteria.
It's just simply the amount that we would have available, just like today's 47 million is available both for the new grants and the renewals. It would be the same for next year's estimate.
Okay. I feel comfortable with the amount we have awarded now. I don't know if I would feel comfortable with anything more.
Have one more.
But if you have one more, let's hear it.
Thank you.
So if you go back to the renewals, and this may be one of the ones that tend to come back because a lot of the attorneys just volunteer there in the end. But just in case, I'm back at the renewals of the Austin Bar Foundation, the pro bono legal services. They work heavily with the Access to Justice program that's provided. And, luckily, a lot of the attorneys are willing just to give their time for free. But I'd like for them to be able to have access to the $130,000 if they need it to provide legal services to veterans.
Is that your motion?
Yeah, Austin Bar Foundation to be renewed at $130,000.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, I heard Kevin, Commissioner Barber. I think, you're saying that they have not entered things into flux. So these numbers may not be accurate. It says in communication with grantee, they have been serving clients, but with volunteer attorneys, they have not been putting it into flux.
Yeah.
So
And they put a lot of guilt on attorneys to volunteer their time.
Okay. I see Elaine may have something to add. Discussion.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for recognizing me. This specific organization took the pro bono legal service category literally. They were providing pro bono services. Their attorneys were not charging the organization for the service. Therefore, we could not pay the organization for the services. So we have instructed them to have the attorneys charge the organization, and in turn, we will pay for that pro bono hour or two, whatever the attorney did. So we absolutely appreciate Austin Bar Foundation having such very giving attorneys, but we would like them to know that we have the money for them and we would love to help them out. And that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was important information. I appreciate that. Any other discussion on the motion on table? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Is there any cats and dogs? Anything left? Okay. I think we have expended this agenda item. Thank you so much for the service of the advisory committee and of the staff for the amount of time and effort they put together on putting together such a good presentation, well succinct, helped us make our decisions. And congratulations to the entire commission on awarding $44 million, the highest amount in grants we've ever provided, so that Texas veterans can get services that they need. Wow. Okay, now I've got to figure out where I'm on the agenda. Okay, you guys are free. Do we have any need to go into executive session? Okay, no need to go into executive session. Commissioners, we need to officially set or discuss our next quarterly commission meeting in August. Right now, I believe we were planning and are planning to have it on August 15th in this room. Is everyone still good with that date?
Yes.
Okay.
So move.
Okay. So, and we don't need to take a motion. That's just, it is what it is. It is, we are going to meet again on August 15th. Okay. Our next meeting is officially scheduled August 15th, 2024 at the George H.W. Bush Building, room 430, 4.300. Austin, Texas at 9 a.m. for anyone who would like to attend our next quarterly meeting. I will now call on each commissioner for closing comments. And I will start with our junior new commissioner, Commissioner Wright. You could start us off.
Thank you very much. I'd like to start off by thanking all of those organizations that presented grant requests. You leverage the ability of the state to serve our veterans, and it's an incredibly important goal. I realize a lot of you aren't here now. To the majority of the people in the room who are part of the staff, I have absolutely been amazed, despite the fact that I was part of FVA for 8 years, the incredible work that y'all do. It has been eye-opening for me. So thank all of you very much.
And I do want to just personally welcome you to the commission. Thank you. I know we've worked with you over the years, but having you sit with us, thank you for joining us and for volunteering your time.
Thank you.
Okay. I will now go to Vice Chair Dale for your comments.
Turn me off a little bit.
I know, new title.
Commissioner Wright, I want to welcome you as well. Thank you for joining, and thank you for the service you've provided in the past to the commission. To our grant commission team, this is a lot of work. And I thank you for the amount of time and hours that you have put into this. And to our staff who, gave us a great summary and information that we needed to be able to make some decisions. Thank you very much for that. And to our staff, what you do every day is important. We appreciate you. We thank you. And thank those that are not with us as well. So on Memorial Day, please make sure we go out and recognize those that are no longer with us. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. Secretary Barber.
Thank you. Again, just to reiterate everyone's comments about the team putting together an effort. I mean, this was history made today. So congratulations to all the team for making that history come true. Round of applause for all of you. Thank you very much. So proud and quite frankly intimidated by the talent that we have and we're bringing back in and stuff. So congratulations to all you senior people that are bringing in these strong team members and really just the complete effort of Tom and his team to coalesce this group and into a really fine-tuned machine that is able to get these this information out and timely. And I know we had a few hiccups. We always do. Don't worry. I've been doing this 8 years. We always do, but this ran so smoothly. So congratulations to you, Madam Chairwoman. And again, remember on Memorial Day, let's have a safe and peaceful weekend and watch out for each other. God bless.
Thank you, Commissioner Barber. Commissioner Hernandez.
Yes, I also want to welcome Commissioner Wright. And your expertise is very much appreciated. And I also want to thank Chair of the Advisory Committee. I don't know if she's still here or not. Ms. Reyna, for all the work, the hundreds of hours that the committee puts in to be able to make the recommendations that we approved today. Certainly is a historic day of all the veterans that are going to receive the services from the organizations. Thank Director Zavala for her work and her coordination to bring the organizations to us. Also, the programs, employment and others that are doing the great work to recognize employers that are hiring veterans in our communities throughout the state of Texas. Thank you very much and have a great, safe Memorial Day weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom, would you like to make any closing comments?
Thank you, Chairwoman. Again, everyone has said it, but you all prepared in an excellent fashion for this meeting, and from the setup to the technology to the documents, and ensuring that you did everything that possibly could to ensure the commissioners had what they needed to make decisions. And especially we'll commend everybody in the FEA staff and advisory committee for your hard work on the preparation that you did, because I know that, when we have these meetings in May, there's a lot of work that goes into it. And so I want to tell you that, and everyone here echoes it, that you did a lot of hard work behind the scenes that no one ever sees. And everybody really appreciates that. So thank you all.
Thank you, Tom. So in closing, I want to publicly thank Commissioner Schoenfeld for her service on the commission. This is the first time in 6 years we haven't had her with us. I thank her for her 6 years of service to the Veterans Commission, and I look forward to formally thanking her this summer when we go to Denton and we get to award her for her service. And thank you, Commissioner Wright, for jumping in the hardest meeting of the year as your first one. And you did a great job. So thank you for joining us and prepping and doing everything. So appreciate the extra work that it probably took. Then I think all of us joined in the August meeting. So we had a whole year before we had a May meeting. So you were thrown right in. So I guess a Marine can handle that. So want to thank everyone. I know May is Military Appreciation Month, so I want to appreciate all military and also Military Spouses Month. So there was a day here that we celebrate military spouses. Wanted to recognize that. And of course, with Memorial Day, have a message put out. Coming up, I want to thank in advance all women veterans before Women Veterans Day. And I look forward to meeting, attending a lot of these events coming here over the summer. As we get ready for August, we'll be shifting focus to getting ready for the legislative sessions. So thank you everyone now that is prepping for that. I know it's no small task to get that LAR and everything ready for submission. So I look forward to a great summer. And thank you everyone for your service and continued service for Texas veterans. So with that, I call this meeting adjourned at 12:39.